News out of Berea this morning. The Cleveland Browns have moved on, have fired head coach Kevin Stefanski. I want to get your initial thoughts on the Cleveland Browns. They fire head coach Kevin Stefanski after 6 seasons.
I mean, I think everybody knew Stefanski was gone. I think Stefanski deserves to be fired. I don't think anybody's really debating that. I think where the consternation's coming in is why Andrew Berry's still there. I mean, if they were a package deal for at least 5 out of 6 years of this whole mess, and the breakup started when Joe Flacco got traded, why is not Andrew Berry also held on to the same standard? Now, we've been saying on our show the last couple of weeks, or at least I've been, that I think this draft class has saved Andrew Berry's ass. But otherwise, I think there's really no other reason to keep him around, and while getting rid of Kevin Stefanski. But I think that's the long and short of it.
Ultimately, this decision is born from the fact that we've ultimately felt like we did not see enough progress in areas that were controllable, independent of certain game outcomes.
Excuse me?
Yeah, I mean...
Excuse me. Winnable? One of the worst rosters in football, and Stefanski's the one who couldn't figure it out? You put that out there.
Right.
Andrew Berry put that out there.
Right.
He got it.
And I agree with what you're saying, Double A. It's not that Kevin Stefanski, at least if I'm understanding what you're saying, it's not that Kevin Stefanski shouldn't have been fired. It's that Andrew Berry should have been packing his bags right there with him.
And to the main event on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. We have been working a lot of time this week. You just saw our reactions from all of the Kevin Stefanski drama. And it looks like Double A has recovered from the aneurysm he had after the Andrew Berry press conference. Gentlemen, how has everybody been? It's been a glorious week of football, a lot of news on and off the field, and then some other stuff. We even have some NASCAR coming up. How's everybody doing today, gentlemen?
Well, Double A, I'm excited to hear how your weekend, and Rob, I'd love to hear about your weekend. I just can't believe, guys, this is like what it feels like to be rooting for good football and watching good football. There's no special. I mean, every now and then it happens, the best of us, but special teams blunders aren't as rare, are more rare rather. They're not as common, and these blunders just. They don't happen on these postseason games, and teams actually win just by being better than the other team, fundamentally more sound than the other team. It just blows my mind. Other than that, I mean, I can't think of anything else. I mean, I know the Browns made some moves, and yeah, Double A, we got a head coaching vacancy in Cleveland, and obviously we saw your reaction immediately there later on Monday. How are you feeling? First off, my bro, I'm going to pass the baton over to you.
Well, first off, personally, I feel a lot better at 8:46 p.m. Today than I did at 8:46 a.m. This morning. The flu bug legitimately got me for a hot second, and it was crazy. It was Friday. It was just just a little headache or whatever. But then it stuck around, and it's chills out of for no reason. Then yesterday. I'm going to be honest. I'm watching the Packers game last night, and I was hoping the Packers can get one more touchdown so I could turn the game off and go to bed. But but Chicago stuck around, and I utilized one of my best friends. His name is NyQuil, and had a full dose of it, and had a very slow start this morning, but the football at least was good, and then probably about halfway through the day, I got better and better and better, and out of nowhere, it's oh, you know what? I'm kind of fine now. It was weird, just weird, but thank goodness for the good football games.
Yeah. I'm glad you're doing better, and Rob, I know you asked us, my friend, but how are you doing, bro? How are you? How was your weekend? I know your weekend really doesn't end till tomorrow, being that, we watched along with you last week with Pittsburgh and Baltimore. Your weekend it's not really over yet. But how are you feeling?
Oh, not too bad. Just from a sports angle of it, I'm with you guys, just being able to watch good football games without really truly living and dying by every play, like not like a IU fan or a Miami fan or, what do we got right now? New England and the Chargers going right now in the pros. It's just kind of nice to watch good games. I could not imagine being a Packer fan after yesterday. I'm sure they're probably wondering what the hell happened. But, and obviously, too, it'd probably be pretty good to be a Chicago fan, though. I saw a couple of reels of fathers and sons, hugging each other, upon the victory of the game. Because got to remember, like the last year that Chicago was really any good was 1985. And, if you're my age, I'm 43 years old. I am definitely old enough to have a 10-year-old kid at a football game. I was 3 years old or I was not even 3 when the Bears won their Super Bowl back in the day. So, it's been a long time for those guys. Obviously we got New England, we got the Chargers going tonight, and it's the college games have been great too. So, in their own way,
there was one college game that was not great, and it was Indiana putting the boots to to Oregon and really anyone in their path in these playoffs.
Yeah.
Well, actually, if you're using their opponent's vernacular, the Miami Hurricanes lingo on this, it's the BTA, belt to ass. That is what a totally not coked up Michael Irvin was coining during this college football run for the Hurricanes. But even with Miami or even with Indiana doing what they were doing, in its own way, it was just entertaining to me. I know it was a blowout. I know it was 56-20, whatever it was. But watching IU be the bully, be the head bitch in charge. You're the number one team in the country, the only independent team left, and you are destroying world-class Division I football teams. We're not talking about ripping through the Big Ten anymore. We're not talking about ripping through, even a non-conference schedule. We're talking we got Ohio State to start this thing off in the Big Ten title game. We went to Alabama. We're now at Oregon. And okay, Miami is probably the least talented team out of that bunch, but they're ferocious. So it's going to be fun to watch that one. But yeah, the NFL and the college football have definitely delivered this. Over these last few days for sure, almost enough to kind of get us away from this all head coaching carousel bullshit with the Browns.
Yeah, I mean, and we talked quite a bit on Monday, and I want to thank everybody out there, Inside Edge Network family and friends out there rocking with us. If you've tuned in since September, you're basically family now because you're 6 months in, and we don't even ask for rent. So with that being said,
even though we should,
thank you for tuning in with us. And, I mean, you heard us on Monday. I talked to Rob. I talked to Double A later on that night. Talked to Kyle Cornell, even, and then Chad, TK, Ryan, all the Inside Edge Network talking at great length about Kevin Stefanski. And will there be chapters in this Cleveland Browns history book wrote about Kevin Stefanski? How will you remember his run? And I had to sit here on Monday, guys. And I'm going to sit here and just say this. And I know we can talk for months about will Kevin Stefanski be successful at his next job? Because he's going to have one. We'll talk about that later. There's plenty of job opportunities out there right now if you're a head coach and on the market. But I try to think of this with Kevin Stefanski: the good times, the 2 playoff appearances, the 2 coach of the years, the good times. Because if I think of the bad times and the moments where we ran a wildcat play instead of putting Shador Sanders out there on a 2-point conversion, or if I think about the 4 quarterback controversy or any of these things of recent, I'm going to get upset and not be as thankful for the run. So, it's kind of what I said on Monday. It's for the Browns, for Stefanski, it's a reset. We need a reset. He needed a reset. And we can appreciate the good times without slandering a guy on the way out. And I think that's new for Cleveland Browns fans because usually the guy is terrible. We're used to Hugh Jackson, 1-15, saying we'll never do this again, going 0-16 the next year, and then having his ass out in the lake. I mean, we're used to the Chudzinskis and all these guys that just are never really.
Chud wasn't bad. No, you're thinking of Freddie Kitchens.
Okay,
that might be more of where we're kind of going with this one.
But I guess what I'm saying, Robin Double A, is not enough of a noteworthy, even footnote when we're talking about these guys 10, 15 years. And I think that's why I try to remember the good of Stefanski. I know Double A. I know you have different thoughts as my fellow Browns fan here on the podcast. And I know
No,
Rob,
it doesn't. It doesn't have to be. No, it doesn't have to be different thoughts. Two things can be true. Kevin Stefanski is a nice guy, very nice guy. I actually met him in person a couple of times. He came to our studios at the Fan. Very nice guy. Very nice guy. He still sucked. I can say that, right? I mean, he only won 8 games in the last 2 years. I mean, I can say that, right? I mean,
you can, but at the same point in time, AA, and you know me, I'm not one to usually debate about a coach that won 8 games. But at the same point in time, we're having this discussion about Stefanski, and it feels like Andrew Berry snuck out the back and is like, as long as they don't catch me, I'll be here by draft time. Well, it just doesn't make sense.
I will say this, though. I do think if you're talking about how the fans are thinking, I think a lot of the fans are locked in step that Andrew Berry should have also been dismissed. And I think once you start talking about some of these other coaches, I think we're limited in terms of like who can you bring in, because Andrew Berry is still in the building. That's why I'm not sold that a John Harbaugh would even come here. With
well,
Andrew
do you think? Well, the question, okay, it'd be different if it's a Mike Shula compared to a John Harbaugh. But if you're the Browns and John Harbaugh says, all right, I like the number you're offering for the money. I like what the team's doing. I like the situation. We are good to go, except I want to bring in my own GM, and I don't want him fighting with Andrew Berry, so he needs to go. Do you think the Browns would be okay with? Do you think the Browns would do that, or do you think the Browns would look at John Harbaugh and say, I'm sorry, this GM is more important than what you have to offer?
I think the Browns would do that. I think the Browns would actually say, we want Andrew Berry still in place. Reportedly, the Browns are also saying we want Jim Schwartz as a defensive coordinator.
That's more believable.
And I understand it. I get that. But who are the Hasloms in the Browns to dictate terms? And to me, even the reports coming out that, Jim Schwartz has to be the defensive coordinator for whoever comes in, I completely would believe that the Hasloms think nothing is wrong with the operations, and they needed a fall guy. The fall guy was Stefanski, and they think everything in Berea is fine. I think they're frustrated with how things have been going, because they truly believe that their methods do work and are going to work, and they're going to do whatever it takes for their method of winning to work. And I think it's flawed.
I just, Rob, I'm going to chime in here for a moment. I think the Browns did themselves a disservice to what AA is, mentioning by bringing Andrew Berry back, because a lot of these coaches, not just John Harbaugh, I know he's, the top candidate, in most people, if not everybody's eyes, in terms of who will be the first, who's going to have their say over all the teams, and they're going to ask, hey, do you want to come here? It's going to be John Harbaugh. He's the guy. But I think the Browns have done themselves a disservice for a lot of coaches in this coaching search by keeping Andrew Berry there, by not really deciding what to do with Jim Schwartz, Tommy Rees. I mean, we were talking a few weeks ago about Tommy Rees entertaining college coach, head coaching gigs, and that's still not out of the question. We'll see, what goes there. But I think they're just doing themselves a disservice. And it confuses me because you're bringing in these defensive coordinators. I saw a report from Dale Ryder that they are bringing in an interview for Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator for the Chargers, who's literally playing right now. Why are we bringing in defensive coordinators? I get they're younger defensive coordinators when we have one of the best defensive coordinators in the league who already has the pulse of the locker room. We heard Denzel Ward talk earlier this week when Stefanski was let go about how he'd vouch for Jim Schwartz. So if you're going defense, this is, I guess, where I'm at. If you're going defense, you got your guy. Other than that, I think the Browns have done themselves a disservice because no young coach is going to come in and go, I'm going to rock with Andrew Berry, who's had one successful draft in 6 years, and their team has won 8 games the last 2 years. I just don't see it for a lot of these guys.
Well, two things. I think the Browns are behaving pretty arrogantly. When AA asks who the Browns think they are, they're behaving like the Chiefs front office looking to replace Andy Reid. They're looking, or Philly and Sirianni, or the Rams and McVay, or the 49ers even. The ones that have these like proven track records of consistent winning. I know the Niners haven't won the Super Bowl, but they've been in the playoffs, I think, like 7 straight years or something like that. They're behaving like they have the success and the resume to kind of dictate what they're doing and what the other coach and what the coach wants to do. Right. That being said, for that reason, I disagree with you, Eli, a little bit here. I think this is primed and ready to go for a younger coach, for a coach that is unproven. Because if you're Mike McCarthy, if you're John Harbaugh, if you're any of these established names, you're like, bro, did you see the Ravens Super Bowl coaching staff I put together? You're not telling me who my DC is. Right. I worked with Ozzie Newsome. You're going to really tell me that Andrew Berry is going to be the way to go on? Like, the older guys that have street cred that are going to have multiple offers are going to be the ones that are going to be like, yeah, we can go and talk to a team that knows what they're doing. It's going to be a fringe candidate, one of these younger offensive, defensive minds. Maybe not the ones who are at the top of the list either, because they're going to be kind of sought after too. This is the disadvantage the Browns are going to be having. A third thing I didn't foresee before I started talking.
Now, my thing,
the Browns are going to have, they're one of 8 teams.
Right.
Like, they have a lot of competition when it comes down to who they want to get. They got half the league knocking on Harbaugh's door. You're going to have probably again, we're talking a quarter of the league is looking for jobs here. You're going to have an eighth of the league talking to some of these guys. You're going to have 4 or 5 teams talking to these hot candidates. So the Browns might be stuck with Clint Kubiak or something along that line out of nowhere, and the fans might be asking, what the hell just happened?
Now, Double A, if you don't mind, I'm just going to go ahead real quick. The only thing I see, Rob, when we talk about the young coaches and we talk about the Browns and who they think they are, I don't even think the Browns know who they think they are. Because if you look at the Browns' track record in terms of the last few years, every move they have made has been win now. It has not showed a team that is understanding they are a few years away from getting to the championship, needing to put together a core. They have, in the last 5 years alone, they have made a trade for Deshaun Watson and gave him the most guaranteed money in NFL history, which is looked at one of the worst, if not the worst, trade in NFL history. But regardless, they made a win now move because Deshaun Watson was viewed still at that time as a guy that could get him over the hump. Whatever. Myles Garrett. If you're a rebuilding team and Myles Garrett wants out, you trade Myles Garrett. I know that's crazy to say in Cleveland. And please, if you're a Browns fan, don't come after me. But I'm just talking reason here. Everything they've done is win now. They re-signed Myles. They got him to stay here instead of trading him and starting to get more draft picks. So my mind, if you're the Cleveland Browns, is I think it's Harbaugh or McDaniel, the more and more I keep thinking about it, or they're staying put with Schwartz, because in their mind, they're still just a few pieces away from winning the Super Bowl.
But the problem is operation. That's the problem. I don't disagree that they are in win now mode, and they could give you a good sales pitch to bring in who they want to bring in. But it's them wanting to bring in John Harbaugh and still have him report to Andrew Berry. It's them wanting to bring in some of the top guys and still work it within the operations that the Browns have operated in behind-the-scenes system-wise for years that has failed. That's the problem.
Well,
it's not their intention. It's their execution. That's the issue they've had for years.
Yeah. Well, I heard a wise man say one day, apparently our problem is that we don't realize who the Browns think they are. We don't, I guess, get the genius of it because they are behaving like a perennial winner, like a class elite front office. And if you're thinking like that, and again, I don't think any of us are agreeing they are that. But if you think you're that, if you're, just looking into the mirror and getting the complete dysmorphia on that, look around at the NFC. The oldest coach in the playoffs to start was Matt LaFleur, 47 years old.
Yeah.
The Panthers, young coach. McVay is still a young coach, even though he's been there for 7-8 years. Kyle Shanahan, still a young coach. He got hired the same year McVay did, but they've both been there.
Right.
But, Ben Johnson, a young guy too.
Mike McDonald.
A lot of young coaches. So necessarily getting a brand new name in there isn't saying we're not in a win now mode. And that might be what the Browns are thinking in their diluted vision of who they are on this team, because I think they are kind of suffering. And I don't want to pretend I'm taking this lightly. Please understand this is a joke, but they're kind of suffering from NFL organization anorexia here. They are looking into the mirror and seeing something completely different than what is actually existing. And at least when you're talking about people who suffer from that condition, you can get treatment. I don't know if we can get treatment for Foghorn Leghorn and Andrew Berry.
Now, at least to their credit, they are doing interviews. Like, you can't.
They talked to 15 people when they talked to Stefanski.
Right. So at least they're not sitting around, because, we've been there too, where like, man, the hot girl's right there, and you eliminate all other prospects that are probably at our appropriate levels. And like, man, that hot girl's just there, just waiting, and you don't talk to anybody else. At least the Browns are talking to other people. I will give them that. They're doing their due diligence with at least the interviews and that sort. So what you don't want is if John Harbaugh, who hasn't done any interviews yet, if he
doesn't have to. He's the hottest girl at the dance.
Exactly.
He doesn't have to go on a speed dating round. He will approach whatever sugar daddy he wants to talk to, and they will be gladly accepting open arms. They won't even ask him questions. It'll be fine.
Do you feel that way in Pittsburgh if Tomlin loses tomorrow?
Oh, Tomlin could be gone?
Huh? What was that?
That Tomlin could be gone?
I think it's still on the table. I think it's still on the table.
I mean, it is. I mean, I didn't think Harbaugh was on the table when the week began, so here we are. Yeah, I mean, it could happen at that. I know they're two different coaches, but they're facing two of this. They're facing two, problems that are kind of the same here. They're good coaches, but they've been there a long time. In the case of the Steelers, the roster is getting a little bit long in the tooth. Also, unlike Baltimore, Pittsburgh does not have a clear solution at quarterback. They haven't had one since Ben Roethlisberger was lumbering around in his final stages. So, I could see Mike Tomlin being like, all right, if we're losing Hayward, if a lot of these guys are thinking about moving on, and we're going to break up the band, we got a 41-year-old quarterback who, God, I don't know if he wants to come back. We'll see what happens this year, but
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it might be just a good time to kind of break this thing off. But
so Rob and Eli, you both will appreciate this. The medicine might have kicked in this morning. I did my pregame hit for the guys this morning.
Word.
And I was going into my point about the playoff games from Saturday, and it just slipped my mind. It was just like, well, Kevin Stefanski already completed an interview with the Ravens. Let's just say the Steelers lose tomorrow. And let's say John Harbaugh is the new head coach of the Steelers and Mike Tomlin's the new head coach of the Cleveland Browns. And the moment I said it, I'm like, whoa. The medicine.
Stefanski goes to the Ravens?
Yeah.
That's so funny, though, that you mentioned that, Double A, because I was sitting there talking to my bro, Cliche, and we were talking, and we're like, look, here's what the Browns can do. Guys, hear me out. With all of the available coaches and potential coaches, we talked about maybe Mike Tomlin still kind of on the hot seat, it seems like every day in Pittsburgh. And then obviously the guys available right now. The Browns are in prime position where they can not only have the coach they want, potentially, they could have multiple coaches they want. They could have assistants to the OC. I'm talking, we not only bring in Tomlin if he's available, we bring in John Harbaugh. He'll just be the special teams coach and oversee the vibes of the locker room. We bring in Mike McDaniel to look at the OC. Todd Monk, and let's get him back here. I mean, we could really just juice this up. If it's about leadership, there's plenty of leaders out there right now in the coaching market, guys. I mean, the Browns could have the Thanos of coaching.
I think, though, the best course of action.
I don't know what to say to that.
That's why I wanted to just bulldoze.
I'm just saying, look, if they don't have the right coach, you might as well get enough of them in there. So if it fails with the first few, you can get the.
They tried that with quarterbacks this year; it didn't work. They had 37 quarterbacks show up there. I think Double A took a couple reps. What the hell? It didn't work with that.
I told them, I told them, I'm like, hey, listen, if you're serious about John Harbaugh, bring me in for an interview. I'll fulfill the Rooney Rule. We'll get that out the way. Done. I'll go in tomorrow morning, do the interview, call it a day.
Oh, dude. Yeah, dude. Even just for they're going to buy dinner. It's going to be at Marble Room. It's going to be epic. It's going to be fantastic. Leslie Frazier's that guy right now. He just gets this time of year, he's going to have like 6 head coaching interviews, and he is going to be wined and dined like he is a real housewife of the NFL. Like he is just going to be, he's probably not going to get a head coaching gig, but goddamn, he is going to have a hell of a couple weeks here.
Now, if you bring me in for an interview, I'm going to say we need to bring in 11 from Stranger Things to be our starting quarterback. She would dominate all defenses.
Wait, hold on. Pause.
By killing them.
Pause.
I'm sorry, I'm alive.
Pause.
Yes.
You told me my idea of actually bringing in NFL coaches just to create a super team was crazy. But you just suggested somebody from Stranger Things. I have never watched Stranger Things, so
I have not watched one moment of Stranger Things.
You should watch, and you'll understand that 11 would be the most dominant force in the NFL.
Why?
Millie Bobby Brown would be the most, because when she gets into her powers, the defenses would be demolished. And I'm not even joking; they would be demolished.
But what happens if Vecna comes out? That's the villain, right? Vecna.
Correct.
Okay. What happens if he comes out?
He would lead our defense.
Okay.
He would lead our defense. He would take the souls away from our opponents.
Well, I'm glad we have a coherent, well thought out, developed plan on what the Browns should be doing at head coach. I just thought that maybe talking to 15 or so guys and coming up with the best option might be the way to go, but. Apparently, we're talking about Stranger Things and Thanos and whatever the else we're talking about.
Rob, when we did this show 10 years ago, Hugh Jackson was the best option. If you remember, Hugh Jackson, he had a great resume. I think he was the offensive coordinator for the Bengals.
Yes.
So he had the best resume, and we got him. And then the rest was history. So ultimately, again, all kidding aside, it comes down to how the organization is handling any of these guys that they're bringing in. Mm-hmm. And that's the part, all kidding aside, that's the part that really concerns me, Eli.
Yeah, I mean, doubly, obviously, we can joke all day about bringing in 100 coaches or fictional characters or whatever. At the end of the day, Jimmy Haslam and Dee Haslam are at the top of this food chain. And that's not changing. And as long as Jimmy Haslam is making decisions for this organization, I'm concerned. I'm like scary movie concerned. I'm like when Freddy Krueger pops up in the middle of the movie and you're like, oh, there's still another half of this movie I got to be scared for? That type of concern. Like, I don't even think we're near the end of this scary chapter, to be honest with you. And that's why I'm scared, Rob, because how can I trust Jimmy Haslam when we've given him enough times to lift himself up, and then he just slips over the same sign, the same area that says wet floor sign. Like, it's clearly you should not go over there, but you just keep doing it.
The one thing, and we got into a little bit of this on my radio show last night, was at least he spends money. He's not afraid to cut the check. Mm-hmm. Because, the hat I'm wearing right now is a team we cover a lot. We cover the Cleveland Guardians. We're the flagship over there. That is an ownership group that does not spend money. And a lot of the calls that I take over there from fans are voicing their frustration, especially in the offseason, are voicing their frustrations about they don't spend money. Okay, we're never going to get a free agent. Now, at least if you're a Browns fan, you're never going to have that discussion. They just got to figure out now. And, going all the way back to the learners, it was the same kind of thing. They spent money. Now, they spent money on like Mike Holmgren. Now, that wasn't probably the best idea, but at least they were trying. Jimmy, now, I think what Browns fans got to hope for, and I don't know if Andrew Berry figures into this long term or if he's dumped at the end of next year if they don't do anything, but they got to hope for someone to come in here and make them look like a freaking genius. They got to find their Bill Belichick to Bob Kraft. They got to find their Brett Veach and Andy Reid to Clark Hunt. They got to find, the Chuck Noll to Art Rooney. They got to find that dude that'll come in there and kind of create a culture and create an organization here and be able to have the balls to look at Jimmy and say, I understand you want the quarterback out of Colorado, but I'm running this team and we're going to do things my way.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Harbaugh's that guy. I don't know if that guy is. It could be a random dude. It could be Clint Kubiak or Shula or any of these cats that are out there just wandering around. Nobody knew who Mike Tomlin was before they hired him. John Harbaugh was a position coach, like special teams dude. Nobody gave a shit who he was. Like, okay, he had an interesting last name. He was the quarterback of Michigan's brother. That's who he was. So nobody knows anymore. Liam Cohen, who the hell knew who that guy was 2 years ago?
And that's the key too. Like, whoever gets this job, they have to have a vision for Shedeur Sanders. And I hate to also say this, they have to have a vision for Deshaun Watson because he's still on the roster.
Well, the thing is, those visions for both of those guys could include buying them a bus ticket and wishing them a great luck in their future endeavors. That
could, but my point is they have to have a vision for at least one of those guys. Like in the interview, hey, what are you going to do with Shedeur Sanders to make him a franchise quarterback? Like, Shedeur Sanders earned the right. I mean, Shedeur Sanders winning those last 2 games, the Browns, you're not picking first anymore. You're not getting Noza. So you got to have a vision for Shedeur Sanders.
I think, and I see where you're coming from on that, but I think, if we're going to look at John Harbaugh and say he might balk on the idea of having to work with Andrew Berry, if you're John Harbaugh or any of these established guys or almost any of these guys, and you're going to be told walking in the door that a 5th-round, second-year player who has won 2 games in the NFL and has completed under 40% or I think 50% of his passes has to be your starter. I think you're giving Shedeur a lot more weight than maybe other coaches would, because if you got a Harbaugh in there that says, yeah, my vision for Shedeur Sanders is I think we can get a 4th-round pick for the bastard, then that is going to, and if that happens, I'll coach your team, then Shedeur Sanders is going to be playing in Seattle or going to be playing in Arizona or going to be playing not in Cleveland, because I'm not, if I'm the Browns, and I could be wrong, the Browns could be, again, not aware, we might not be aware of who they think they are. But the Browns, I don't think have any right to look at any established head coach and say, you got to keep the GM and you got to keep the quarterback.
But they're going to. Like, this is not, and I'm saying this because, Rob, I do agree with you, but this is not Sean Payton walking into Denver and given full control and then him looking at Russell Wilson and saying, you are trash. I am going to pay you to stay home. The new head coach will not have that power. It will be.
Well, the thing is, like, it will be Miami may very well offer Harbaugh that exact situation. They might look at him and say, "You're going to be our dude. You can tell Tua to kick rocks if you need to."
Then John Harbaugh is not coming here.
Then they're getting in their own way.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I know we got to get the break here in a little bit here, guys. I 2 things on the Harbaugh front. There is some ties. I saw, ESPN's Adam Schefter had mentioned, that
he was born in Toledo.
Yeah, ties here, but ties in Green Bay as well. And that's something you talked about LaFleur with that disappointing loss. We're going to talk about NFL postseason, obviously, and all that. But LaFleur, that disappointing loss. I mean, there's ties there. There's, Miami with having the GM and head coaching positions open. They can have that. We keep talking about how usually
Miami hired a GM.
I'm sorry. Correct. They did bring their GM, but it's but it's somebody that Harbaugh had approved of. My apologies. But it was somebody they had brought in. What I'm saying though, Rob, is they had that opportunity when this offseason had started, where no other teams did really. They had that, the only other team I can think of is Atlanta. And you look for that synchronization as a franchise, because we talked about it before. Timelines where head coaches and GMs aren't on the same timeline doesn't work out. Now, I get Miami hired the GM recently here, but it's going to be the same offseason as whoever they bring in. And that's
also got to realize, too, with Miami, Stephen Ross, he made a very large donation to the University of Michigan several years ago. And out of that donation, they got a business school named after him. And they also hired their new coach, Jim Harbaugh. So Stephen Ross has been talked about for a long time. He tried to get John Harbaugh. Remember, I think at around 2020 or something like that, there was a contract extension fight, or 19. They were having and there was a chance that he couldn't hit the open market. He was trying for him back then. I think the owner of Miami just loves the name Harbaugh and trusts the name Harbaugh. It's like, quarterbacks and Manning. That's why Arch Manning got every break in the book. It just makes sense that name is going to do well. And so I think, there's a connection there and I think with Green Bay, it's not so much that LaFleur's on the hot seat. I don't think, I don't think, the whole idea of canning him is in the conventional sense is there. He's up for an extension this year. He has one more year left on his contract now for the 2026 season. He sees himself, I think, as a $15 million a year head coach, as an upper echelon dude. I don't know if Green Bay thinks the same way. I think they like him coaching there, but I don't know if they're going to want to meet the money. Think like Kevin O'Connell last year with the Vikings.
Right.
Like, there's kind of like a little purgatory with that. And if that breaks the wrong way, then LaFleur, I could see, get traded to a team that may want to extend him. And then Harbaugh does come in there, because I told you I think I mentioned, throughout, I think on Twitter even, like, I got a sneaking suspicion about Green Bay. I could see Harbaugh landing there, and I could see it working out very well there, unfortunately.
Yeah, just a ton of ties, and Rob, the Green Bay, in Miami, obviously, like I said, with the opening there, Harbaugh's going to have his opportunities, but I think the GM head coaching thing, we keep talking about the Browns' decision not to tie it back here to Cleveland. They didn't get rid of Barry. Andrew Barry's still here. There's not going to be a synchronization. My final point on this, and then I know you have some thoughts here as well, Double A. My final point on this, guys, is Andrew Barry. We keep talking about the NFL draft class coming up in 2026. 2 first-round draft picks, glaring needs at wide receiver, offensive line, and they can definitely help out and bolster the rest of the offense too while they're at it. With that being said, I don't think we're bringing enough attention to the free agency class that Andrew Barry is going to have to dive into. Because if the Cleveland Browns think they're going to fix it, if they believe they truly are in win now mode, and they think that they can go ahead and bring a Harbaugh in or a top guy that's going to light up the offensive side of things, and they're going to make a run again, then they have to address free agency. And it's really been something that's kind of been a moot point for the last few years, it feels like. Obviously, the Watson contract, that plays a big part in it. But they have to go address in free agency as well. If they're in win now mode, we keep talking about, it seems like based off the moves, then why wouldn't you go spend any dollar you have in free agency? I know it may not be enough much compared to the other teams that have more to spend, but you got to be aggressive in every way possible if you truly are in win now mode. And for Andrew Barry, 2026, there really are no other options unless Jimmy Haslam has inked him to another 5-year extension and we just don't know about it. 2026 is shit or get off the pot, for lack of better terms.
Yeah, the tone I got from Jimmy Haslam was him hyping up this previous draft class, was basically saying to us, like, he's only here really because of the previous draft class. And that's really it. I mean, you're right about the free agency.
And the trade. And that Newsom trade.
In the trade. Can we, Eli, let's put up that Mike McDaniel's headline again. This broke really as we got on the air from Mary Kay Cabot. Former Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel will interview with the Cleveland Browns tomorrow. My reaction, yuck. Hell no. No. The guy can't even win a game in cold weather when he was here. It was in Miami. John Harbaugh is a different case from what I'm about to say. I do not believe that a retread that was let go from their job should immediately become a head coach somewhere else the following year. John Harbaugh's the exception because of the resume. Mike Tomlin would be an exception if he was let go because of their long resumes. Mike McDaniel, and I'll add in Matt LaFleur, they have done nothing to deserve another head coaching opportunity because they won't learn from their previous mistakes if they get another job the very next season. I am wholeheartedly against Mike McDaniel coaching here in Cleveland.
Fun fact, remember when Johnny Manziel was here and Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator? Remember when he wanted to leave and get the hell out of here? And he wrote the PowerPoint presentation, right?
32 slides.
Yes, he asked one of his assistants, the wide receiver coach, to put together that entire slideshow for Kyle Shanahan. the receivers coach on that staff was Mike McDaniel. So he does have some connections here. Double A, I agree with 99% of the things you said, and and everything important you said, I do agree with. However, kind of what you were saying with me beforehand, with the whole, this is the logical move that the Browns should make, and you guys looking at me going, yeah, that's not going to happen. I could see this happening. I could really see this happening. They love he's an offensive guru, analytics guy. He'll fit in there with Andrew Berry. He'll do what he's told. It'll be fantastic.
If you had a gun to my head and you asked me, who are they hiring? They would hire this fool. They would hire him. As a heck of now, if you let me retract a little bit. If you brought him in as an offensive coordinator, fine. Head coach, absolutely not.
I think if you if you brought in like a Harbaugh to have him, in all seriousness, I know you were talking about your dream, your dream coaching staff. It would be realistic if Harbaugh were to come in, Mike McDaniel would be a viable OC. I understand that, and I agree with you. I think that he would be the Lions have already talked to him about their OC job, and I think that would be an ideal fit up there too. So yeah, he would be a great move as an OC. The only problem with Cleveland is that you really don't have a whole. I'm not even talking quarterback. You got Jerry Jeudy and a bunch of guys, and then you got Harold Fannin and David Njoku and everybody else. So there's not a lot of weapons on offense quite yet, but. Yeah, I could really see Jimmy going with Mike McDaniel.
When the Browns face, I'm sorry, Eli, real quick. When the Browns faced the Dolphins earlier this year, the Dolphins legitimately looked like one of the worst teams in football. And this dude is in the middle of Cleveland, raining, wearing sunglasses.
Yeah, wore sunglasses that show, yeah.
Like it's freaking Miami Vice. And you had one win. Like you were in worse position, and I get it. The Dolphins kind of figured things out a little bit later, but the season was done. Like this dude's a joke. This dude is a joke. He has no business being a head coach. So, Rob, you're 100% right. They're going to hire him.
Well, and the other thing is too with and seriously, and I'll make fun of the capri pants. I'll make fun of the sunglasses. I'll make fun of the look all day. But you look at the fact too that him and Tua were basically fighting in the media with each other. Tyreek Hill was doing whatever he wanted while his knee was still intact, and years before that too. Him controlling the inmates isn't really his thing.
Yeah, what makes you think
you kind of need that? That's kind of like job number one.
I will say this: when it comes to McDaniel, I'm not as mad about it or angry about it, I guess, as Double A is. If they were to bring him in. I see the good and the bad. I see the 6-3 end of the year, finish. Winning 6 of the last 10. I see that finish. I see a head coach that thrives offensively near the end of the year without Tyreek Hill. They brought back Darren Waller from retirement. He came in with Miami and he had a great year. I mean, they made it happen. They brought out more out of Jalen Waddle. And Devon Achane's really been unlocked. I know he's a fast guy to begin with, but they've really done something there, Double A. And I get it. It's not when you think of Mike McDaniel right now, you think of the guy who's broken after these Miami press conferences, who's not really able to really discuss how it's really even going because there's so much animosity, like Rob said, between who's the quarterback. He had to bench Tua. Who's is his job on the line? Halfway through the year, his job was on the line. Now, at the end of the year, you think he's safe. Reports are he's safe, and then he's out. So I guess my thing is. The only fear I'd have, I think there's a lot of great with Mike McDaniel in terms of what he can do for the offense. He can help coach a young QB because before the Tua injuries, Tua was definitely starting to get more and more into his stride. Now, the only fear I have is you don't send a broken man to Cleveland. You don't. And you don't send a guy like that to Cleveland after the situation he just had in Miami.
Fucking Normandy.
That's what
oh crap, we're going to send him to the trenches. We got to make sure he's healthy and ready to go. I think, though, Mike McDaniel, if you guys are right in thinking that the quarterback is kind of a must, Mike McDaniel could be arrogant enough to think he could win with Tua or to win with Shador.
Right.
I think that could be the case.
Yeah, but I'm going to say this too. like, I get it. Shedor's a 5th-round pick. I understand there's some bad statistical, but Rob, I've said this on the show multiple times when we discuss the Browns games when they're playing. And, we got a little bit of time to breathe before they start back up again. But, I talk about it's never going to be pretty necessarily stat-wise. But what we're looking for, Shedeur is out there playing with really no wide receiver one. At the end of the year, last game, he had no running back one and no tight end one. So at the end of the day, I'm just looking to see if there's improvement. He made winning plays, led a game-winning drive to get in the field goal range last game of the year against the Bengals. And that's what I'm looking for. And maybe that's what a guy like Mike McDaniel sees, or one of these young offensive coordinators.
The flashes.
Yeah, maybe they see that, Rob. So, we talk a lot about Shedeur and the situation. And really, at the Double-A's point, unless the Browns get aggressive in free agency, and really then there's not a ton to like in terms of a retread quarterback, you're going to have to rock with this quarterback room. This is your 2026 with the Cleveland Browns. Do you buy into Shedeur Sanders? And I really don't like entertaining it, but do you think you can fix Deshaun Watson? Really, I lean
on the roster.
I get it.
Roster,
but really,
you can't just shove him away anymore.
Right, but I think a head coach Double-A would more so be looking at what I bring up point one, which is, can they see Shedeur Sanders as a guy that can lead the Cleveland Browns for the next 10 to 15 years? And that's what I think the big thing is going to be for these offensive gurus. Do they like what they have enough to know that if with a successful offseason, they'll have enough gadgets and guys and just players, alphas, to make this happen? So
I ain't got nothing else to say.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we're going to be able to talk about this for a few weeks. I got a feeling.
Okay.
I got a feeling this job search is going to keep going for at least a couple of weeks here. I would not be shocked with that until this round of the playoffs is over, maybe even the second round too, because, guys like McDermott, they might not be even safe with one playoff win. So we'll see what happens. And I'm sure we'll have –
I'm sorry, real quick. I know we got a break. I'm sorry. I don't hate Mike. I don't hate anybody, okay? That's a strong thing. Yep. What makes you think a grown man will listen to this dude? Like,
I'm set up too.
I mean, I get it, Double-A, but I'm just going to be honest. I know you don't hate the guy, but I've never seen you this passionate about a coach since David Blatt when he was coaching the Cavaliers. And it
turned out I was right about that.
Touche. All right, Rob, send us the break.
I'm sorry.
You sure? Okay. We try to initiate the sequence here. But we'll take a break right now. Actually, we're going to come back and things like, and we're going to keep talking NFL head coaches too right now, and the wild card playoffs. Things like, the Haslams and this quarterback and stuff like that. That's going to kind of determine where the Browns are going to fall in line in the hierarchy of best NFL jobs and worst NFL jobs. We'll go through that. We'll break down some of these other vacancies. We got a wild card game right now happening in Foxborough right now that is happening as we speak. Tied up 3-3 with in the waning seconds right now of the first half with the Chargers and the Patriots. It looks like they're going to be ready for a field goal anytime soon to have the I don't even know. The Chargers take the lead. No, the Patriots take the lead. There we go. But we'll get into the other playoff games. We'll get into the rest of the NFL jobs. Then we'll have news and notes. So coming up in the third segment, we'll talk a little NASCAR. Yeah, you heard me correctly. We're going to talk the National Association of Stock Car Racing. So that'll be fun. And actually, Double-A brought that up too. So we're breaking stereotypes all around here in these parts on the main event. The other thing too, a couple of big NFL, one big NBA trade, and then one big NBA trade rumor. We'll kind of get into that too. So we got a lot to cover. This is the main event on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. We have Double-A Anthony Alford. This is Eli Moon. That is Eli Moon. I am Rob Rozycki, and we'll be right back here again on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. We'll see you soon. And welcome back to the main event on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. We got AA Anthony Alford. We have Eli Moon. I am Rob Rozycki, and we are now in the middle segment of the show here. Thanks for sticking around through the break and listening and taking in all of our Browns head coaching reaction and what the hell we're going to be doing. And again, it's going to be a developing story that's going to be going on for several weeks. So I think we will have plenty of time to talk about it. But gentlemen, we have a full docket of NFL playoff games happening. One of them actually happening right now as we speak. The Patriots and the Chargers are at half currently in Foxborough. The Patriots are leading 6-3 over that in that absolute shootout right now up in Massachusetts. But yeah, we've had a pretty good week of playoff games so far, gentlemen.
Yeah, it's AA. You looked excited. What game did you get excited the most about, AA? Because, man, there were so many to choose from.
All of them. Well, I mean, honestly, so much so. I know we're going to do a game-by-game breakdown. But I did mention with this new playoff, well, not new playoff format, but all these new faces in the playoffs, that this is going to be the most wide-open, exciting playoffs that we have seen in a long time. And, I mean, Rob, this question actually is more for you. Have you ever recalled a stretch of playoff games where like every game hits? Every one so far?
No, because a lot of times, like, we always talk about the divisional or the wild card round about how it always kind of clanks around. The divisional round is typically where we're going to go. That final 8 teams that are still left, and we'll whittle it down to the conference championship games, but not in recent memory. I can't remember, and even you throw the college stuff in, which we'll get to in the later part of the show. It seemed like every time you turned on a game in the last week and a half or so, starting really with the Sunday night game that we were all kind of watching along. I mean, the last play of the season definitely meant something in the NFL, and that game meant something. So we've been basically started with the playoffs since Sunday night of last week. And it seems like every time you turn a playoff game on, it's close. Even if it's not close, it's probably going to be close in the case of Green Bay and Chicago, which I'm sure we'll talk about too in here. But yeah, every game just kind of has its own personality to it and its own unanswered questions. And, to your first point, AA, it's wide open. As NFL fans nationally anyway, these are all kind of first dates. We're figuring out who to trust right now. We're figuring out if Trevor Lawrence is a guy that we can ride with in the playoffs. We're figuring if Josh Allen can make a turn and finally be that dude. Drake May, what's going on right now with him? Can Justin Herbert finally win with Harbaugh? There's a lot of these unanswered questions that are lingering around right now, and some employment may be in the at stake. We could have a couple of coaches in the playoffs right now lose their jobs. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's kind of happening right now, and it seems like we need more games and more data, and at least that's what we have coming up, tomorrow night, and then obviously in the next round and the round thereafter.
Yeah, I got to be honest, guys. I've been so excited. I keep getting calls from like my mom called me. I got to be honest, a lot of the calls are usually from my mom. But all joking aside, my mom called me.
That's a good thing, buddy. That's a good thing.
It is.
That's a great thing.
It is a great thing. I'm not ashamed that my mom calls me. I just want to let people know other people call me too. I'm a busy guy. But my mom called me and she's like, "What are you doing this weekend?" I said, "Well, I'm going to go to the studio, take care of what I got to take care of there. I got a big 2026 planned, and then I'm going to watch football. And then she's like, "What are you doing tomorrow?" I'm like, "Oh, well, I'm going to go over some stuff I got to take care of, and then I'm going to watch football." So, well, what about Monday night?
Real quick, when is Moon Bash? When is it?
Moon Bash is officially going to be July 25th, 2026. Brothers Lounge in Lakewood, Ohio. All-day event, 3 different stages, vendors, podcasting, a lot more to announce.
All right, cool.
Great stuff. Thank you. But yes, if Mama Moon's listening, please, Mom, you can call me whenever. I'll answer. I love you. But everybody else, just know, I'm a busy guy. But no, blessed that I was able to watch football all weekend, that is. And honestly, just awesome. I think, I asked you, AA, Rob kind of asked us, where do we start? I think it's only right if we start with the little engine that almost could in Carolina. The Carolina Panthers, they were 10.5. We were sitting here at Rob's spot literally last weekend when the odds came out. And again, reminder, if you decide to bet, it is not the Main Event or the Inside Edge Network telling you to do so. We have no influence and don't encourage it. But we are going to talk about that there was a 10.5 spread, and the Carolina Panthers were a Matthew Stafford comeback drive away from going to the divisional round. I mean, that's pretty incredible, Rob, in AA. I mean, this is a team that had a losing record, lost their last game, basically said, we're okay on the playoffs. And Atlanta's like, get your ass in there and show them what you're made of. And they did. They did for a moment. And I'm proud of the Carolina Panthers. It felt cool to see Carolina, the helmet. There's certain teams that when you think of the playoffs, and for me, it's the Carolina Panthers. I don't know why. Probably Jake Delhomme and Steve Smith, going up against Brady and all that back in the early 2000s. But
Janet Jackson.
Yeah, that was Booby Gate. Yeah.
That was on my birthday. That was my
all I want for my birthday. Okay.
Hey, that was my 12th birthday. One of the all-time greatest birthday presents this young man has ever received. Thank you, Janet Jackson.
But it was cool. It was cool to see the Carolina Panthers have a home game at that too. Obviously, division winner, whether they're 8 or 9 or not. I mean, we can discuss whether Chad actually had asked. We did Thursday Topics, first edition of Thursday Topics on Inside Edge Network. You'll see a bunch of different talents mingling through the shows. Chad had asked me. He said, "Eli, does it feel right?" And I'm going to ask you this, Robin AA. Does it feel right that an 8-9 team, a losing record team, not only made the playoffs, but gets to host a game? I mean, it's a tale as old as time. We've talked about it for many years. We talked about it 10 years ago when we started the show. But is it right, first off, for an 8-9 team to be hosting a playoff game?
Well, I mean, it's kind of tough to ask that question when they were leading by 4 with 38 seconds to go. Even past that, even if they got blown out by 3 scores, I like the fact that the rules are the rules in this case. I like the fact that it isn't open for interpretation, because when you start talking about open for interpretation, you talk about fan bases bitching about getting screwed. Though, all the college football talk, with Notre Dame and Miami and that whole kerfuffle, which now looks laughable with Miami in the final now, by the way.
Right.
BYU had that, has some stuff to say about it too. There is none of that in the NFL. If you're the Ravens and you can get mad at your kicker, you can get mad at your head coach, but you can't get mad at the system for, we got screwed over out of a playoff spot because, this writer likes us over that team, or that team, their GM was in charge of the committee this year, so that's why they're in. I love the fact that we don't have to play that kind of game with the NFL.
That's true. And AA, I'm curious your thoughts, because the only thing I think of though is and I want to give credit first off to Carolina. I mean, great effort. Bryce Young had a day. I mean, Ted McMillan had a day, but
the Rams had Matt Stafford and Puka Nacua, and the Panthers didn't. That's really ultimately what it kind of came down to.
But that's where I'm at. And AA, I want to kick this to you. That's where I'm at though, Rob. It's like we were talking about Los Angeles Rams. And I know they won, so it's kind of a moot point at the end of the day. But this game, I feel like, may have looked a little differently if Los Angeles was getting to host a game. And I think there is, we talk about college all the time, completely an off-season discussion. But maybe we need to look at how the NFL playoffs are structured in terms of seeding and that way, too. Because, I don't know, man, it just doesn't sit right.
I don't think so. I think it's fine the way it is. Now, if you're the Rams, there's a 3 time zone difference, right? Like if this was the Panthers.
Yeah, that did suck for them. Yeah, they did have to go East Coast. Yeah.
Right. So you do have that, and I understand that. But to give it a little bit of historical reference, if you guys remember, I think this was the year after the Saints won their Super Bowl. The Saints, they were the 5th seed wild card. They went into Seattle, who won the NFC West with a 7-9 record.
Oh yeah, that was kind of like the beginning of like the beast mode run. Yeah,
and boom. Right, and the Saints were heavily favored in that matchup. And then some dude named Marshawn Lynch had a killer touchdown run, running over mother effers on the way to the end zone, and that started, to Rob's point, that whole run with Pete Carroll and the Seahawks. So I do like the fact that no matter what, if you win the division, you host the playoff game. That is your reward for winning the division, whether or not your division is good or not. And even to say case, I think the Texans have a better record than the Steelers, correct? I think they do.
Right.
But the
Steelers have at least a winning record. I think the Steelers, I think it's 10 wins they got this year. So
yeah, but Pittsburgh won their division just like Carolina. So I think to answer your question
this year.
Right. So to answer your question, I think that should stay there. Plus, too, the balance of power throughout the NFL is pretty evenly balanced. So you're going to get good playoff games no matter what. Like Carolina looked like they belonged out there on the field.
They did.
Definitely dispel that.
Yeah, they weren't James Madison. They weren't.
Right.
Yeah, they didn't get boat raced in the first round. So I mean, like, as long as that doesn't happen, I think you kind of got to go with what you go with.
Now, to be real quick. Actually, Eli, you go because I have another point about the game itself. Go ahead, Eli.
Yeah, because I want to get in the game. Like I said, was really impressed with the Panthers. Honestly, that point about hosting a division, a wild card game rather, by winning your division and having a losing record, I just feel like you see so many of this, and a lot of times it is the NFC South, and they get bounced in the first round. And I just feel like, seeding does play a little bit of a factor, and I'd be curious to see if, in the future, if a team that instead of just winning the division, you just rank them higher because they were the better team, and then you see how that looks. But that's completely big brainy. Double-A, as far as the game, incredible. I mean, incredible.
Carolina should have at least forced overtime, and I didn't like the end-of-game execution by the Panthers. I mean, you had 3 timeouts. There was, 17 seconds left. You only had to get, 30 to 40 yards to at least get into field goal range. And because of the fact you had 3 timeouts and the Rams were sending the house, all you had to do was throw the ball over the middle, and you would at least get, 10, 15, maybe 20 yards a pop with that. So I think the end-of-game execution, I think that's the key term with all of these playoff games. I think that's where things kind of fell apart for Carolina. I don't blame Bryce Young. I more so blame the coaching. More so blame not putting Young in position to make those plays late in the game. And the Rams, at that moment in time, they showed the whole they've been there and done that type of mode. But again, to the credit of Carolina, the Rams dominated most of the first half, and I think Joe Davis made the point, and Greg Olsen, they both made the point. The Panthers are still in this game, even though the Rams dominated the first half of the game. So, a great win for the Rams. Carolina, you hope that they're back next year, but I always say with the playoffs, you get one shot at this, and you never know. I mean, if Tampa Bay pull it together next year or Atlanta, then Carolina may not have this opportunity again next year. So
you especially say that with a 7-9 team in there. That division is. I mean, it was a 3-way tie. So if one other game across the country would have worked out a little differently, it might have been Atlanta in there for all we know, let alone Tampa Bay.
Right.
But then the last couple of minutes of the game kind of reminded me a little bit of McVay himself when he was in his first Super Bowl against Belichick. And you could see that on one sideline you had Brady and Belichick. On the other side, you had McVay and Goff at the time. And, these guys, one sideline knew what they were doing and had been there before and was very used to the situation. And the other side was new. The other side was still in a little bit over their head. Nothing against Dave Canales. Nothing against the Panthers in general. They had a great year. They shot this was a team I think most people thought was going to be a top 5 pick this year. Bryce Young was not a shoo-in to be picking up his 5th-year option, which I think is now going to happen. He would have been the first number 1 overall pick to not have his 5th-year option picked up. So they've answered a lot of questions. They have nothing to complain about this year in Carolina. And you got a couple of teams now with Atlanta looking for a head coach. Tampa Bay's trying to retool. The Saints had a hell of a finish too. I mean, a lot of people were arguing. We had Kyle Cornell Monday when Stefanski got canned. He was arguing that, the guys like him, the Saints were probably the better team in that division the last 6 weeks. So, that's going to be a pretty hard-fought division, and there's going to be no guarantees they'll get back. But Again, I don't think Carolina has anything to be ashamed about. And so that was basically the first game. That was actually I was on.
Can I say,
what's up,
Rob? Can I just say one more thing on Carolina here too? I got to be honest though, I was a little disappointed with them because we talked all year about what kept Carolina in these games, and Bryce Young's had some standout games, but that defense has been really lights out and caused turnovers. And I'm not saying they weren't efficient all game, but you had one more stop to make to put out a guy who's won a Super Bowl. You know, you mentioned McVay and Stafford; they have the Super Bowl together. You had a chance to really knock out a top dog, and the defense folded. Like I said, we'll see how it goes next year. That was just a little disappointing.
Well, did the defense fold, or did that top dog bite you? I mean, that top dog's a top dog for a reason. Sure,
but if you're Carolina though, that is the one question I would take into the offseason is, you know, you're gonna be sitting thinking on that for all offseason. If we would have just got one more stop on defense and stood tall. But yeah, that's why Matt Stafford's Matt Stafford. I mean, his most important mic'd up moment or best mic'd up moment is against the Cleveland Browns. All right, so we understand the guy's a gamer. Okay.
Yeah, and that mic'd up moment was about 38 years ago too. I think. That was a long. That was his rookie year. I think the one you're talking about.
Yeah, he was a Lion still. Yeah, man.
Yeah, his first win.
Yeah, so but
crazy. Speaking of Lions and the NFC North here, the NFC North was in full showcase though. In the night game yesterday, and we thought it was going to be kind of a laugher at halftime. The Packers were up 21-3. It did not look good for the Bears whatsoever. They were getting dominated on both sides of the ball. Green Bay was just kicking them around in the line of scrimmage, and then halftime happened, and I don't know if the whole thing from Freaky Friday went down. I don't know if there was some sort of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but it was a tale of two halves. And after being outscored 21-3 in the first half, Chicago comes back and drops 28 points to Green Bay 6 and wins the game 31-27 in one of probably a instant classic there, especially if you're an NFC North fan.
Double A, before you mention something here, I don't know if you're seeing what I'm seeing, but I feel like Rob's definitely watched Stranger Things. Is this like what Vecna would do? Vecna got him.
Yeah, Vecna well, either that or the Mind Fryer got him. That would be worse. You at least want Vecna. Yeah, you at least want Vecna to. Actually, no, you don't, because if Vecna gets you, you're dead. At least if the Mind Fryer got you, then you do have something. Like you could still live, I guess. Okay. Vecna was the interesting case because he was like, I guess, the upside down world. So he was trying to pull your soul from underneath you. So that was the interesting thing. Okay, back to the question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Chicago scored 25 points in the fourth quarter. Like, and I mentioned this before a couple weeks back. The schedule makers were geniuses. Putting these two teams together. This was their third matchup in 35 days.
I think that was the number. Yeah, that was. Yeah, it's been. They played. Got very familiar with each other.
So they know each other very, very well. And Chicago, boy, we had a pre-show discussion in terms of who do you trust, who you don't trust, and Chicago. Caleb Williams last night grew up in front of our eyes. He made some critical throws. On fourth down, the rollout to DJ Moore, that was huge. And Green Bay's pass defense has been a problem all season long, and they finally got exposed, Eli.
Yeah, they sure did, Double A. I mean, we talk about, Micah Parsons, and we talk about the impact that injury had, losing him for the season. I actually saw a stat yesterday, they were showing it on the graphic, that Green Bay, the first, 13, 14 weeks of the season were super strong with Micah Parsons there. Like leading in terms of points per game, they were only averaging like 19 points per game against them, roughly about 20 points. They're averaging like an extra 10 after Micah Parsons went down. And, I was seeing if we can bring Rozycki back to us. I think they're still taking care of him in the underworld or whatever. But with that being said, after the Micah Parsons injury, Double A, after the real just questions with Jordan Love, the questions with who's going to be the alpha in the wide receiver room, who's going to step up, is Josh Jacobs going to make that lunge running back wise? We always talk about Josh Jacobs, being in that discussion of top guys, but he's never like in that top five. And really, there's a lot of questions about Green Bay to the point where we talked about, Adam Schefter talking about, could LaFleur be on the hot seat? Which is crazy to think about. Yeah, crazy to think about, though, if we were having this conversation at halftime. If we were having this conversation at halftime yesterday, everybody'd be like, LaFleur on the hot seat, they're up 21, 3. Like, this makes no sense. And really, it's a disappointment for Green Bay AA. You kind of just seen this coming the way they were, tailing off at the end of the regular season. And really, that's what I feel about Green Bay. Now, Chicago.
I was gonna say real quick, the second game played out that way, where in the game a few weeks ago, Chicago scored 13 points in the fourth quarter. Same thing, Eli.
They've been great at they've been. I mean, they talked it up throughout the entire broadcast about their comeback ability. So
yeah,
and then and then I don't think going to Green Bay for a hot second. I know you guys want to move to Chicago. They missed an extra point. That really bit them in the ass at the end of the game. It was a 4-point game instead of a 3-point game. There were just a lot of little mistakes there from Green Bay. And look at the line of scrimmage. The superiority they had in the first half went away. I mean, it was Jordan Love running for his life. Chicago could run the ball whenever they really want. DeAndre Swift kind of broke out in that second half. It was at the line of scrimmage. I don't know what adjustments were made. I don't know what kind of pep talk they got. But something happened in that Chicago locker room at halftime.
Well, I'll tell you this. Just on the Packers note, too, the Packers better be thanking their lucky stars that Micah Parsons already inked a new deal, because after they see the impact him just not being on the field for that Packers defense was yesterday, he's probably worth another $50-60 million. I mean, my goodness, like, that was just crazy. And in Chicago, okay, we're going to have a tough discussion about Chicago. I hope we're all ready for it. I still don't trust the Chicago Bears. I still don't. I get it. They scored 25 points against their arch rival, and they got it done. And, they have done things that they haven't been able to do in quite some time. I get it. I just can't. There's some things that we would be having a discussion about completely different about this Bears-Packers game if it was halftime. And I get that's why you play to the end of the game. But at the end of the day, going for it 4 times on fourth down if you're Ben Johnson. One leads to an interception. The other, you turn the ball over, you get it deflected, you turn the ball over on your own 32-yard line that leads to another Green Bay score. Guys, we are literally a half of football, and I know that's why you play the games, but a half of football away from talking not only about Caleb Williams and if the Bears can get it done, if Ben Johnson is trying to get too cute with the offense in game calling. And that's still a discussion going into the next round. I still want that. That's why I don't trust the Chicago Bears, because they got lucky.
And they have the Rams the next round, correct? The Bears?
Yes. No times listed yet, of course, but yeah, they're going to be with first off with Ben Johnson. I actually remember kind of thinking to myself in that first half, I'm like, bro, we could have seen this shit with Matt Eberflus. Like, I mean, it was the same kind of risk management and failure rate that we were used to with the last head coach. But he got it together. I understand going hyper aggressive when you're down a couple of scores like that. The one thing with Ben Johnson, though, was when I think it was in the second quarter when they went for it on fourth down in their own end. I'm looking at the people I'm watching the game with. I'm like, okay, why? Tell the punter to go home. Like, if you're not going to punt there, then you're never going to punt again for the game. Just tell them to put street clothes on and grab a beer at this rate. But my thing with Chicago. And this is, and you guys can tell me if this is old man in grass or nitpicky or whatever here. There were a few moments with Caleb Williams that I had an issue with. And again, he did great, beat the arch rival, comeback. Yeah, I mean, had a hell of a day. But in that first half, and even in the second half when the offense wasn't working, when they had a couple of 3-and-outs, he would throw a ball 8 feet over somebody's head and scream at them like the teammate screwed up. That happened 3 or 4 times. And I'm like, bro, you're not Peyton Manning. You're not Tom Brady. You're a quarterback that, as of that moment, hadn't won a playoff game. And this year had the lowest completion percentage of any qualifying quarterback. Like, you're acting like you're the gunslinger here. You're barking at people what to do. And I'm like, dude, I don't know if that's the guy that's, again, like, I could be wrong because they thrive in the comeback. They thrive when their back is against the wall. The other thing I didn't like, and this is where the old man stuff kind of came in, and I looked at my girlfriend right when it happened. I think it was in the fourth quarter. They took a 30-second timeout, a 30-second timeout. They're at Soldier Field, and the quarterback of the Chicago Bears gets the code over him for the 30-second TV timeout. Son, I know you went to school in Oklahoma and in Southern California, but if you are playing in Chicago, you got to be able to stand out there during a freaking TV timeout for 25 seconds to get your shit together. It shouldn't be that hard. And it's just the high maintenancy. It's the attitude. I just have never been sold on Caleb Williams.
Did you guys see Lil Wayne's comments about this game?
we don't guess that I haven't, Double A.
Yeah, we don't need to repeat it. But Eli, did you see him?
I saw, and then, oh my goodness, and then Cole Bennett, the videographer from Lyrical Lemonade, had mentioned he's a Bears fan, I believe, because he's from Chicago. So he mentioned that, Lil Wayne can just take the offseason now.
Yeah, let's just say Lil Wayne is not a fan of losing to Caleb Williams because of his fingernail choices. Let's just say that.
You know, I didn't even bring that one up. I didn't even bring that up. I
honestly, I was
shocked.
shocked.
The fact that he cried in his mom's arms after he lost a game at USC, I didn't do anything along that line. So,
but look, at the end of the day, Rob, we talk about it all the time, and I know you have some thoughts, Double A. We talk about it with Caleb Williams, and I know I'm the guy who says on the field, I don't know if he is the guy. He had a great game yesterday, great in the second half, really. Great second half. I mean, first half wasn't pretty. But great second half, and we'll see what he does against the Rams, another home game at Soldier Field, and a chance to go to the NFC Championship game. I mean, this is as big as it gets for Caleb Williams since he's entered the league. But I got to give him a little bit, of credit because everybody at this point is brought up, and I'm proud of you, Rob, honestly, because you didn't go after bringing up the fingernails. That was an easy one. A lot of people do that. But at the end of the day,
it's tough because you got a lot of guys my age that are looking at it's not just him, but it's your generation in general that, like, you're a 45-year-old white dude and you got a kind of a tough time understanding it.
Yeah, I mean,
I legitimately forgot about the whole fingernail thing until Wayne brought it up. Completely forgot.
Honestly,
I bet Mike McDaniel paints his fingernails.
Honestly, it doesn't. I guess like.
Okay, man. Okay. With sunglasses in the shades.
I said what I said.
I guess like my thing is like the more and more we talked about this, in terms of like earlier this week, and we've talked about it many times on the show. I really don't care as long as you're not getting in trouble off the field. I don't care what you're really doing. If he wanted to paint his nails that said they were going to win by 30, I mean, if you don't win by 30, it's going to look bad. But I don't really care about any of that. At the end of the day, let him express himself how he wants to express himself. And I get it's a media's dream to have him sitting there crying to his mom when he loses a college game and all that. I just think, and I said it back then, it shows emotion. One thing I will never question about Caleb Williams is he bought into the game and care about the game. Yeah, and he's got emotion, and I think that's why him and Ben Johnson clicked. Are they completely polar opposites? It seems like in terms of like Ben Johnson's more to the point. Caleb Williams wants to kind of throw the deep ball and flex to the crowd. They're probably polar opposites, but one thing they both have is emotion for the game. You saw Ben Johnson fall over. They're knocking him over when they come back. And, I mean, that guy cares about his team. He cares about his quarterback. And Caleb Williams is resonating with the city of Chicago. You can see that through community fundraisers during Thanksgiving, when they right on Christmas, rather, when they beat the Bears. Or, excuse me, geez almighty, the Packers. When they beat the Packers, the Bears beat the Packers. They had a Minnesota fan walked in there, a video I saw, and he's like, and Caleb gave him a little bit of, mess, but you can just see this guy from when he got drafted as a number one overall pick to now. The one thing I won't question is his emotion. Do you have to agree with all of his choices? Like, whatever. I know you don't have to, but you have to recognize that this guy is becoming a gamer, Rob. I know you're not sold on him. I'm not sold on the Bears. I was just
going to say, you started this whole diatribe out by saying you weren't sold on the team he plays for.
I was going to say, it was you, Eli, that started our pregame meeting talking about, Chicago. I don't know, man. I don't know. That's how our pregame show meeting started today.
I'm not sold on let me reiterate. I am not sold on the Bears. I am not sold from the guy doing fourth down attempts, and going 0 for 4 and giving the team an opportunity to keep putting points on the board. I'm not sold on defense.
Hold on. I gotta stop you right there. Isn't every team in this playoffs doing that? isn't every team in this playoffs going for it on fourth down?
Well, I
They're
mean,
going
going
for
for it
more.
on like 4th and 4 on your own 30, that's a little in the
what I'm
first
saying.
half.
No,
That's a little bit of an extreme.
And it was after they had went for 4th and 4, double, not to interrupt, but after they'd already went for it on the same yardage thing near and threw an interception. So it hasn't worked. So
that's what analytics say differently.
Actually, no, both those times it did pop up on the broadcast that analytics was shitting all over that decision.
I know.
All I'm saying is this is a different conversation, guys. If they don't have the second half they have, it's a different conversation if he does the same stuff next week against the Rams and it doesn't work out and they don't have a miraculous second half comeback. So I guess to my point, ultimately, when I talk about the Bears, I don't believe in a defense that is, besides takeaways, dang near last in every statistical category. Terrible. I don't trust a coach that is a first-year head coach and seems to be, he got lucky, but he's in over his head, it seems to me, and I think we're going to see that next round against the Rams. I believe in Caleb Williams, and I think that's the only thing I'm very confident in is Caleb Williams.
I don't think Ben Johnson's over his head. I think that's a little excessive. I will say this, though. If they don't game plan better, and if they come out slow against the Rams next week, they will lose. And they may lose badly because there won't be a comeback effort that the Rams are going to allow to happen. But again, at the same time, the Rams dominated Carolina in the first half, and Carolina stayed in that game.
That's what I'm saying. Like, all these teams have looked shaky. We're, in a lot of ways, including the Rams, we're trying to figure out who to trust right now.
And the Rams, real quick, Eli, the Rams, they should have been the number 1 seed, and they couldn't close things out when they needed to, and they're on the road. So I think all of these teams are flawed in some way, shape, or form. I think Ben Johnson knows how to utilize Caleb Williams. He knows how to utilize, DJ Moore in the offense and put it all together. But yeah, I mean, they do got to come out better. That I agree with. If they come out, it won't work.
Exactly, double. And I guess like first half, Ben Johnson was over his head. Second half, we can have a conversation. Whatever they talked about in the locker room, it looked.
He's emotional. Better. They feed off of emotion, though, right?
Exactly.
That's like when Ben Johnson, the introductory press conference, like, hey, I got a lot of respect for Dan Campbell and Kevin O'Connell, but Matt LaFleur is good kicking his ass twice a year. Like I mean, that's just what it is. But you know what? Ultimately, though, a statement win for Chicago. Absolutely. I'm getting this win. Soldier Field, I heard, the broadcast talked about Al Michaels has called, games there for 40 years. He's never heard Soldier Field that loud as it was last night. And Chicago, they handled this. 25 points in the fourth quarter.
Well, wow. You think about it, this was something that, and the pandemic took it away from Cleveland. But, this is, Cleveland going into Pittsburgh and beating them in the playoffs or defending their home turf against Pittsburgh in the playoffs. Like, I think we mentioned it a little bit pre-show was that, Chicago, their last great run was the mid-'80s, 85 Bears. We always talk about them now 40 years later. 40 years. If you're my age, and I'm by far the oldest one on these airways right now, you were 3 years old when that went down, 2 years old when that went down. So you saw, dads hugging sons, grandfathers hugging, sons. Like this was something that was cathartic for the Chicago Bears. And we'll see how Ben Johnson evolves throughout the playoffs. We'll see if Caleb Williams can harden up a little bit and take a Sean McVay on, or take a Seattle on, or take, somebody from the AFC on. But right now, with what's happening in Chicago, they needed to beat Green Bay to do this. They needed to beat the big brother. And, again, this is a franchise. How many times on Wikipedia do we see that, the owner was changed to Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre or whatever of the Chicago Bears because it was just a foreseeable conclusion that the Packers were just going to beat the high holy hell out of Chicago in Chicago. So that was something that needed to happen big time. We real quick too, we do have a quick update in the Sunday night game. The The kickers are having a good day. The Patriots just tacked on another field goal. They are now beating the Chargers 9-3 in the first playoff game without a touchdown in the first half since 2020. So we are, Double A's face kind of says,
yeah, man, because
the
it's
whole
like,
thing from that game.
because I changed my whole setup just to watch the Sunday night game finally, and this is like the worst game.
Yeah.
I know it's going to be exciting fourth quarter, but man, come on, man.
Hey,
we're
Rob.
about 45 seconds to go in the third quarter. So, yeah, I mean, but that's how all these games have kind of went was, the first three quarters happen and then the top of the fourth fight and all hell breaks loose. We talked about, this was a game, the Chicago Green Bay game was one. Even look at what happened in Jacksonville with Buffalo and Josh Allen, with a game-winning 11-yard tush push, by the way, to take the Jacksonville Jaguars, who again, kind of a new arrival to this party. They held their own. I mean, they were definitely. They looked like they belonged to be there. Liam Cohen, Trevor Lawrence, reminded everybody. Goes, yeah, I have some big game experience too. I went to Clemson. And it looks like, another good game in Jacksonville. Buffalo, by the way, winning their first road playoff game since 1993, gentlemen. So a definite. You want to talk about a catharsis, and for a city, Buffalo might be kind of going through that right now.
Yeah, this was big for Buffalo. Obviously, a road win. Not only, first road win in a long time, but that also means the first road playoff win for Sean McDermott and Josh Allen, something they had struggled to do when we talk about Arrowhead and we talk about the challenges they had. They don't have to face, we've talked about it at great length, Lamar or Burrow or Mahomes, but they do have to face some of these young guys, these young quarterbacks, these young coaches that have something to say. Today was the first test, Jacksonville, and Trevor Lawrence, like you mentioned, Rob, Liam Cohen, they were ready to go. And they played ball, and it was a good game. I mean, just a really entertaining game for the most part. Josh Allen getting pushed dang near to the goal line, then punching it in. I mean, just crazy. But really, all eyes on Josh Allen when it comes to the Buffalo Bills, because I thought going into this game, Double A, James Cook had to absolutely run his ass off to really win this football game, and we didn't see even a touchdown by James Cook. In fact, it was the Josh Allen show. He played pretty dang close to flawless. Him and Fernando Mendoza over in Indiana arguing who had the better, game right now stat-wise, because Allen had a heck of a game. And I know I've been very critical of the Buffalo Bills. I've been very critical of Josh Allen. This was a good first step for the Bills, and they really avoided disaster, because a loss today, it would be, okay, well, you can't beat Burrow. You can't beat, or you can't beat Mahomes. You really get past these guys, the Burrows, Lamar, okay, we'll have that discussion. But Burrow and Mahomes, you can't get past these guys. Now you can't get past Trevor Lawrence, and he avoided that today, took the ball in his own hands, and made sure the Bills were going home a winner. So,
will Josh Allen physically be able to keep his body together throughout these playoffs? He had several injuries even today.
Will he be walking at 40? Maybe not, but I think he'll be able to get through this one.
I know. Well, I guess if teams are if Buffalo's going to be very dependent on Josh Allen having to essentially put his body on the line every game against some of these more physical defenses, that becomes a concern going forward if you are a Bills fan. But in terms of today, you handle business. You did what you needed to do. When you have a team that's been there and done that before versus a newbie, these newbies have to put these been there, done that teams away. And if you just hang around, Josh Allen has been there. I know he hasn't won a real playoff game until today, but he knows what these situations are like. Those last couple of minutes, the tush push for the first down, which he almost scored, and then, eventually Jacksonville let him in, to save time. There was no pressure on Buffalo. All the pressure was on Trevor Lawrence, and play number one, he threw an interception, ended the game. So, yeah, Buffalo, they clocked in, put in that work, and they won the game.
And also, to add to that point, Double A, we talked about the defense looking pretty embarrassing at times for the Bills. I mean, this isn't like, when they had Von Miller and some of those guys like really loading up the line and that front eight. You just brought up the first play, Trevor Lawrence. Can he start this comeback drive with, less than 2 minutes to go? Bills defense makes a big play when they need it to. And the Bills defense doesn't have to be top 5 or top 10, but for the Buffalo Bills to get where they're going, they got to help Josh Allen out more. They got to make these plays and put him in a position where he maybe doesn't have to run 40 yards to get where they need to get to. Maybe they can take advantage of better field position, and that's what it comes down to, I think, for Buffalo. I truly think it's not going to be pretty for Buffalo any of these games. It's going to be grinded out, breaking tables in the parking lot like they do all season in Buffalo, throwing people through tables, and that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a lot of carnage, and will the Bills survive another round? And now what? We're waiting to see what happens in this Chargers New England game, but it's going to be
what is interesting is if New England wins and they're up still 9-3, and Pittsburgh wins tomorrow night, that will be second round of the playoffs, Buffalo going to New England.
Going to New England. Yeah, that would be huge. And it was Buffalo last time winning that matchup against the Patriots. Again,
that basically solidified Buffalo's position in the playoffs. Yeah. So I mean it's going to be these newcomers kind of crashing the party and figuring out what's going on. And in the case of Josh Allen, you've been to the party, but you have gone home without a girl every time. This time now you did have a pretty tough test. Again, 11-yard push, 2 rushing touchdowns for Josh Allen, 1 on the air. Eli, you're right. They are going through him completely. And at this rate, the Buffalo Bills window is open as long as Josh Allen is on 2 feet. That's pretty much where they're at. And he's going to have to keep playing. So
I hate to say this, too, before we move on to Niners-Eagles. I know Jacksonville, technically their window is going to be open, cool, great. Jacksonville was in a whole different situation. You got to make people care about your team. I mean, Jacksonville's the one team that they're around. They're cool. But, it is what it is. They needed to get the W to make people talk about the good efforts that they have done this year. Believe it or not, they were the hottest team going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
The Texans were up there too.
And the Texans. So
you don't think Double A just asked you that question. You don't think that Jacksonville did enough today with the fans in that arena, or stadium, you don't think they did enough to reignite at least a little bit more of excitement in Jacksonville?
I mean, Jacksonville, yes. In the community, sure. But I'm talking about nationally.
Well, keep an eye on that locally and nationally, because remember, Jacksonville has a knack of being very, very good, like AFC Championship good, and then gone for the next few years. Remember that Leonard Fournette, Blake Bortles roster,
right?
They beat the Steelers in the playoffs to go to the championship game that year, and you never saw them since. They were basically broken up in a year or two.
Right.
They've done that a few times in that market, so. Maybe locally, if you're a Jacksonville fan, you might need to see it back-to-back years before you really, really buy into it.
They do got a swimming pool, though.
Hey, and I'm just saying, it looks pretty fun. I
don't want other kids though. If I'm in the pool though, I don't need for that size. It's not a big pool.
Yeah, we need the adult swimming pool.
Yeah, all the kids get out of the pool. Just adults.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Exactly.
Whatever just happened to buy into tickets to a game and sitting and watching the game? I don't.
Rob, later on this year on the main event, we will talk about standing room tickets over at Progressive Field. You want to go down that route?
You and I have done that before.
I had a good time.
I've been fine with that. But I'm fine with standing room. I'm fine with sitting down. I don't understand why we need to have basically a Kalahari in center field for everyone to have fun with.
Well, here's the thing, Rob. People need options. And
they were watching the game.
Yeah, people need options. Look, you wouldn't want to go chill in a swimming pool in Jacksonville. You're telling me that doesn't sound like fun.
Come on.
Okay, to Double A's point, I would like, if we ever had the chance to be in Jacksonville for a home game, to sit outside the pool after the game is done and ask people on camera what happened in the game they just paid to attend. Because I'll guarantee you, it ain't going to be a pretty percentage. I mean, we're talking like leading the National League in hitting percentage. We're talking about 310, 330, somewhere in there.
Would you rather, I'm sorry, and then we'll move to Niners-Eagles. Would you rather watch a game, a professional game in Jacksonville in the swimming pool, or in your hotel room in Toronto?
Oh, for the Blue
yeah, Rogers
Jays.
Center, yeah. And they've had that out there for years, too, since Skydome days. I take the hotel.
I would choose, and the Blue Jays are playing better ball than Jacksonville, so I'll choose Blue Jays. Better game.
They both got in the playoffs, so I mean, and we're not even going to tell you. Blue Jays just picked up a Japanese pitcher. Yeah, they're look like they're going to be playing in the AL East.
Oh yeah. I'm just saying, they were a little closer than Jacksonville. Both playing good ball, but I'll go chill in Toronto for a moment. Hey, we got one more game, Rob. You want to go ahead and tell us what happened?
Apparently, some breaking news too. We are back on the much like Ohio State and Ryan Day. We are back on the now that they lost the Nick Sirianni job search watch here. The 49ers ended up beating the Eagles 23-19. So the defending Super Bowl champions are now doing they're not doing what they're going to Cancun, but their seasons are done. They are wrapped up, and we will have a new Super Bowl champion. And as I said, I think we're going to be the city of Philadelphia is back on Sirianni watch, because unless he wins a Super Bowl there, it looks like they just want to can his ass. But yeah, we got a battered and beleaguered 49ers team losing George Kittle with an Achilles injury midway through the game. They end up doing what they did all year, just keeping their shit together long enough to win the game. And they've now done that 13 times this year, including 12 times in the regular season. So here we are. I mean, they're a mash unit. They are beaten up. They are broken. They are battered. But they might be the best team in the NFC, period, at this rate. Yeah,
I mean, pretty crazy. And I want to bring up, there is a stat that actually that worked out. They were talking about it earlier today. I saw it through DraftKings, but I'm sure it's through a bunch of other reports as well. This is a stat here, and I'm not usually the stat guy, but I got one for you, fellas. The only time that 3 teams in the NFL, same division, have made the divisional round has only happened once since NFL realignment in 2002. It was in 2022, and it was, I'm pulling up here just to fact check myself. In that year, we had 3 teams from the NFC East, 2022 NFC East. So just want to make sure I had the right division. I know, crazy. They accomplished that in 2022. Now with the Niners winning and the Rams winning yesterday and the Seahawks being the number 1 seed, they are the second division to have this happen since NFL realignment in 2002. It's crazy. Congrats to the Niners. I will say this, Rob, you brought up the Niners, they just, to your point, get it done. And, we talk about losing Kittle. We'll see what that does the rest of the year in his postseason run. But Jake Tongus, the backup tight end, now starting, it'll look like now for San Francisco, has stepped up and done his thing in relief of George Kittle multiple times, earlier this year. And he's going to have to do so again. But that's kind of been the story of the Niners, is next man up. Who steps up? When Purdy went down, Mac Jones stepped up. And now Mac Jones has worked his way into a conversation to start maybe for a few teams next season. You look at McCaffrey, this year he's been very healthy, but there's been seasons where they've had to be ready for him. They are just constantly next man up, and you don't see any breaks, or any faults in the machine that Kyle Shanahan has created. They are missing Nick Bosa, and they are missing Fred Warner, 2 huge pieces on defense most of this season. But you wouldn't think it if you turned on a Niners game for the first time. They go and win these football games, so they make a gritty play on defense. And I think the Niners, obviously, last week I predicted the Niners to come out of the NFC. I think they just took out the top dog, AA. They just took out the defending Super Bowl champions. I mean, who else is scarier than the Niners right now?
So everything you said that's going right for San Francisco is what's going wrong for Philadelphia. It is not a next man up mentality. In fact, you have your star players arguing with your head coach publicly on the sidelines, which happens week in and week out. You have their home fans booing every single bad play that takes place with the Eagles. It's just not a healthy environment for a team who, pop quiz, they won the world title last season. So, I mean, listen, you got if you're going on Philadelphia Eagles Twitter right now, I was just checking, they want a new head coach right now. So it's just like, listen, there aren't 32 available head football coaches that are out there. You just got to. Offensive line was a problem all season long for Philadelphia. What's going to be the future of Lane Johnson? That's their big thing. So until they can figure out their offensive line, the Philly team that we saw last year where Saquon Barkley dominated, you're not going to get that. And plus, Saquon Barkley himself, he's missing key, he's not finding the proper holes to attack either. So you have a one-dimensional defense or offense, and Philadelphia was just a shell of what they were last year, and it came back to bite them.
Well, I want to see too what happens if the Cardinals got rid of Jonathan Gannon. His job before that was the Eagles OC. So
right,
might go back to Sirianni. They might be able to find some magic with that. But the Eagles this year reminded me of Aerosmith in the 90s and in the 80s, where you knew Joe Perry and Steven Tyler hated each other. And, the band was constantly fighting and breaking up and getting back together. And, they had a little bit more cocaine involved than the Eagles do, and just other stuff. But they needed that tension, and they needed that, that energy to kind of create. And Eli, you probably see it all the time in music, where you got collaborators that otherwise probably would not want to give each other the time of day, but there is that friction there that kind of works. But they gotta look at some of these guys. Saquon, he had a good enough game today. 106 yards, did not find the end zone. AJ Brown, who has been most audibly irritated with Nick Sirianni and the coaching staff, he had 3 catches for 25 yards, including a couple of really bad drops. And I'm sorry, if you're going to be sitting here reading self-help books on the sideline and complaining about the fact that you don't get the ball enough, despite the fact that you were winning 6 in a row, then you better catch the fucking ball when it's thrown to you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know he was mad at himself for that, but that doesn't matter because he's mad at himself. The money's still going to cash. He's still on the roster, and he's still going to want the ball. So you know what? Shut up. You had no time for anybody else on that team's excuses. You did not want to hear about any other reason about why you weren't getting the ball. So now that you got the ball, catch it. It's not that.
It was bad. It was really, especially in the fourth quarter, Rob. I know you're referring to a couple that I remember the egregious one hit him right in the hands. Even commentary team telling
like Jerry Jeudy thought they were shit drops.
It was rough. Just really bad, and you can't have that out of your star wide receiver one. To both your guys' points, especially when we've talked about on this show here throughout the season, he is constantly bringing up noise, even when there isn't noise surrounding the Philadelphia Eagles. Why bring smoke to something that doesn't need attention right now? That was just a problem. Even when the Eagles were winning, it was, when are the Eagles going to implode? That was what we were watching in Philadelphia today, January 11th, 2026. Their season imploded right at home against San Francisco. And I think it's big. Double, you brought up, this about the past of the Eagles. And I think that's big. Okay, that's a big point because they went out and brought Brandon Graham back. Their defense has no problems this year. They didn't need Brandon Graham. I know they were suffering some injuries, but you could have looked for some younger guys. Brandon Graham retired. They brought Brandon Graham back. Why? Because he was one of the last guys that had that winning culture, and that you got to buy into Philadelphia. You got to buy into the city, the Eagles, and then everything else will work out. You look at the Eagles have just continually had more and more problems in that locker room since Jason Kelce retired, longtime center. If you go listen to Jason Kelce, obviously he's got his podcast with his brother Travis, and they do their thing, and he talks all over about how it's so much going on between Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown and Nick Sirianni. I feel like I'm watching the next reality TV show. It's like they're bummed that they didn't get on Hard Knocks, so they're trying to make a case for it next year. It's Brandon Graham. You bring him in from retirement. You bring him back, and I know he was excited to come back, but the Eagles did that for a reason, to try to instill some sort of locker room veteran presence and be like, listen, This guy's doing it the way that it works here in Philadelphia. Jason Kelce. And then you even look at Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson didn't play today. Lane Johnson, longtime offensive lineman for the Philadelphia Eagles, on that line with Jason Kelce and those guys. And he's been a very important piece to this Philadelphia Eagles offense. We talk about the tush push all the time. And Lane Johnson's one of those main guys making it happen, right? And he has missed a good amount of time this year. He did not play in the postseason game today. And I think that's big too. Not only just X's and O's and winning the line of scrimmage, but when chirping starts or whatever, I don't know what was going on. We talk about on the sidelines, the arguments and whatnot. You got a Lane Johnson there to step in and say, hey, we have what? Wild card division, NFC Championship, Super Bowl. You need 4 more wins to go back to back. You've done dang near the hard part. You got to the playoffs, and you've secured a home field game.
But they hate each other. So sometimes even like, oh, we're almost there. Sometimes you're relieved that the season's over. And that's the vibe that I got with the Eagles. And the thing is that this organization has proven that, hey, even though we've won a title before, if it ain't working, we don't have a problem blowing it up and starting over again. And hey, listen, they'll probably be disciplined. Run it back next year. Make sure your offensive line is healthy. Hope that Lane Johnson's good to go next year, because that I'm not even sure about. And see what happens. But the game was so close too. You see the score, but you wouldn't know that the Niners have a phenomenal environment and the Eagles have a terrible environment. And yeah, I think this could be the end of the road for this version of the Philadelphia Eagles. I really believe that this could be it.
I don't know, Double A, and I know you got something to say here, Rob. I don't know if it's the end entirely for this run of the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't think it's entirely broken. You have a guy in Devontae Smith that has put his head down and just done what he needs to do. Play good football, and when he's called upon, he delivers. You have Dallas Goedert at tight end. I know he's getting a little bit older, but you still have him there. You have options.
Do you trust Jalen Hurts though?
I guess it's more. I'm more so. You got to give Jalen Hurts a drama-free season and bring a guy who's going to be cooperative with him. Double A.
You got to trade him out of Philadelphia.
No, you got to trade AJ Brown out of Philadelphia. That's but if you look at everything, and I guess that's what I'm getting to. My point, Double A, is the one big thing is when this drama and this noise comes out, everybody tries to diffuse it except for one person, AJ Brown. So if he's that unhappy in Philadelphia, where he just won a world championship, and they have taken care of him and paid him a contract extension, I'm not getting into the finances. That's his pocket. That's his bread, whatever. But they have taken care of you. Paid you. You won a Super Bowl with them. You're the wide receiver one. It's never been questioned. If you're that unhappy there, then, go somewhere else. You're going to get paid. You're still going to be a top receiver in the league. You just won't compete for Super Bowls anymore. If you want to, go ask some of these guys that have never won a Super Bowl how much they would go back in time, these receivers, and win a Super Bowl. Just do what they had to do. And A.J. Brown right now, I think, is the problem in Philadelphia because he speaks about he needs the ball more. And then to Rob's point, you see when he gets the ball, Double A. I love A.J. Brown, but let's call a spade a spade. He's dropped it every time that they need him to catch it.
No, he's an aging receiver, and we've seen it happen with every aging receiver out there. Tyreek Hill might be dealing with it right now. When you lose a step, when all of a sudden you're not a top 3 guy in the league anymore, is the juice really worth the squeeze? And if you keep dropping balls, no, it's clearly not. When he is one of the best receivers in the league, when he does produce when called upon, yeah, he might be worth all of that bullshit that's kind of hovering around that team. But when he's not, no. You're adding to it at this point. You're adding to, the issues. So, yeah, I don't know if they got to rethink it. They might even have to go higher than that one. We talk about, easy to deal with and stable, personalities. Nick Sirianni is not that. He is. He was screaming at fans. He screams at his players. In a way, he's kind of the perfect coach for Philly because they did throw the snowballs at the Santa Claus, so he does kind of fit into that city pretty well. But yeah, it just seems like AJ Brown on the roster, off the roster, as long as Sirianni's running the shop there, it's going to be a highly dramatic situation. We do have a little bit of news, too, happening in the Patriots game. The Patriots just popped in a 28-yard touchdown through the air from Drake May to Hunter Henry. They're up 16-3 over the Chargers, and it gets worse if you're a Chargers fan. Justin Herbert just got strip sacked in the Chargers territory. New England now has the ball, I believe, just over the 50-yard line, about the 57 or about the 47-yard line in Charger territory. So it took about 48 minutes of that game for a touchdown to finally happen, and we could be getting two pretty quickly now happening.
Yeah, that game's over. It's over. It's done.
AA.
Drake May's going to move on.
8 minutes to go, by the way.
It's over. Drake May's going to move on. And, I mean, look, Justin Herbert, you talk about we've been waiting all these years for Justin Herbert to finally elevate himself to the next level. And this is – what year is this for Justin Herbert? And
5, 6, somewhere in there.
Yeah. I mean, maybe later in his career it'll happen. But, again, New England's the better team. I wouldn't be surprised if they score another touchdown in this drive, New England. It's done. I mean, Patriots, Drake May, I mean, their defense came through, and the Chargers, offensively, they're always that team that's just right there. And I'm looking at it now. Justin Herbert, he was sacked 4 times, 6 QB hits. So, yeah, offensive line not coming through either for the Chargers. So, yeah, that's it.
Well, they've been beat up big time, too, on the O-line. Joe Alt's been having some injuries. It hasn't been – and I think with the Chargers, they're probably about another year away. They need another draft. They need some more free agents. They need a little bit more time to kind of rebuild that team up around Herbert because, the old way with Herbert was you're going to throw the ball 45 times, and if you do well, we might win. And if you don't do well, we're probably going to lose. So – I think they're trying to give him more of a running game. Omari and Hampton was pretty good this year. Kamari Vital was pretty good this year too. So, I mean, they got some things happening right now, but again, they're just beat up and they got injuries, and Kyle Shanahan isn't the coach, so they're screwed.
All I'll say, and I know we got to go to break here, and we got news and notes and great stuff coming up, Rob, that you'll tell our fine viewers. All I'll say, AA, don't count the Chargers out. For every game we just talked about, especially that Bears game, there was a moment where everybody was ready to turn the TV off, and then the second half happened. That's all I'm saying. Am I saying they will win? No.
Brother.
Is this game over? No.
Dude, it's over. It's like 6 minutes left for the fourth quarter. Turn off the lights.
Look,
if you're watching that game, turn the game off. Watch the rest of our show instead.
Fair. Okay, I'm okay with that. I'm just saying. I'm not in this playoffs. I am not willing to say it's over until I see 0-0. There's still time in the second half, and there's been some crazy things that have happened in the second half.
I will bet you this.
I'm not betting on the Chargers when they're down by.
No. Just a light, just a light whatever. I will buy you a sandwich from whatever fast food establishment you want. From like the dollar menu, can't be nothing.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm gonna say Marble Room.
If we come back from commercial and it's a 1-possession game, by the time we come back from commercial, I will buy you a sandwich from some dollar menu at a fast food location of your choosing next Sunday, Eli, after church.
Okay, and what happens if I lose?
If you lose,
I shouldn't have even asked. You didn't even have that plan.
You shave your beard.
No, if you lose, you still owe me gas money.
All right, we got a good bet. All right, Rob, go ahead. I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right. Well, for the record, New England went 3-and-out and punted, and the Chargers had a fair catch on their 12-yard line. So they do have the ball. So AA could have to pay up pretty soon. But yeah, that was our playoff review here. Just real quick, too, before we move on here and get into the news and notes after the next segment, the NFC lineup is set. We don't know the times or the days yet, but it will be the Seahawks and Niners, so you'll have an NFC West matchup out there, and then it will be the Bears and the Rams. We're still waiting on some matchups to conclude in the AFC, obviously, the Monday night game tomorrow with the Texans and the Steelers, and we are about 6 minutes away from a final in New England, and we'll see how that goes, too. So When that happens, we'll have that lineup set, but the NFC lineup is good to go. Seattle and San Francisco, and then we also have Chicago and the Rams. But we'll talk about the second round of the playoffs, I'm sure, next week, gentlemen. Probably that they'll probably be finishing up as we get on the air with the Sunday night game. Hopefully the Steelers will be involved, but I'm not holding my breath. But up next, we'll have news and notes. We got a lot of stuff, actually, some diverse on a football NFL weekend. We got some other stuff to talk about. We have the word eligibility and really what does it mean anymore in the NCAA. We'll get into that. Also, to a couple of one big trade in the NBA and then one rumored trade. We'll see if your NBA team is going to get a troubled superstar in the upcoming future. And then also, too, we got the college football playoff. We actually have a final happening in that one. The Hoosiers, everybody, are the juggernauts of college football as we speak. We'll get into that and obviously what we have learned this week. And we'll wrap up the show. This is the main event on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. We have AA Anthony Alford in the middle. We have Eli Moon on the other side of me. And then I am Rob Rozycki. So we'll be right back here, and we'll see you soon. Well, great timing. This is the main event on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. The Patriots just did their final kneel down. They have beaten the San Diego Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers, 16-3 for the final playoff game of this Sunday. They got one more left. That'll be happening Monday night. Steelers playing host to the Ravens, to the Texans. There we go. They played host to the Ravens last week. But yes, that is it has gone final now in Foxborough. They will be moving on. So, gentlemen, we can, I don't know if we need to dwell on that any further, but we can definitely just move into our news and notes if you want to. We got Anthony Alford, Eli Moon. I am Rob Rozycki. Gentlemen, all right. Do you want to just kick into our news and notes right now, or do you just?
I think the Express, the Patriot, and Eli lost a bet too. So
I'll have the gas money ready next Sunday morning.
Thank you.
No, thank you. All right, go ahead, Rob.
Yes. Hey, they didn't score. That's how things work out. Again, I'm a little surprised the Chargers offense was that meek, but we can definitely move on that later here. But news and notes, I guess we'll start with, I don't know where we want to hear the biggest story. We'll have a couple of weeks to talk about it. Next Friday, a week after next, actually, will be the national title game, college football playoff. Indiana will be playing, I don't know who's technically the home team in that one, but it is in Hard Rock Stadium, and Indiana and Miami are going to be playing in Miami's normal home digs for the national title. Gentlemen, I think we're kind of at a spot in college football where if Indiana can do this in 2 years, why can't your school?
Yeah, what a story. I mean, definitely for Indiana. And what's amazing, they're the one team that has demolished everyone in the path to this championship game. And it's just incredible. And Rob, you're 100% right. It's just the biggest turnaround, honestly, in sports that we have seen in a long time. I actually saw Sierra New Yorker. I completely botched her name, but she works at Channel 3, anchor, reporter there. She's an Indiana alum, and she mentioned one of her statuses recently. She's like, congrats to Indiana. Back when she went there, Sierra and her friends, they would tailgate and then not go to the games.
Yeah.
Actually give away football tickets.
That's crazy.
They would give away football tickets just to get people at the stadium.
This is a program for the 130 years it existed before Frank Signetti showed up. Was a 35 win percentage program.
Yeah.
So that's how that, this is unprecedented. Maybe what Mike Krzyzewski did in Duke basketball wasn't anything to write home about. And then all of a sudden Krzyzewski gets there and it's a juggernaut for a generation. But yeah, Signetti over there has really, without the aid of a 5-star recruit, kind of changed that program in 24 months. I mean, they were in the CFP last year. They got knocked out in the first round. That was the last game they have lost, by the way. They are undefeated this year. They are, as AA said, blowing out everybody. I mean, they handled Oregon like it was Ohio State taking care of Minnesota. This is a school that is not meant to be a football power. I mean, obviously basketball. And yeah, I mean, if Signetti's doing this in Indiana, why can't Franklin do this in Bot Tech? Why can't Dion do this in Baylor? Why can't UCLA pull this off? Especially if you're a state-ran institution, if you're a state school like Indiana is, why not? And now the rich are getting a little richer. Mark Cuban is another Indiana alum, former owner of the Dallas Mavericks, but now actually he's a minority owner still. He just donated a butt ton of money over to that school for the first time really in his life. So, yeah, they're going to have that NIL budget. They're going to have the facilities. They're going to have the coach unless the NFL comes knocking. But, yeah, I mean, if they can do that, why can't anybody else in the area of the transfer portal?
Yeah, and it's pretty incredible. Yeah, I mean, Indiana, obviously we talk about Mendoza coming over from Cal. And, just the fact that there's, no 4 or no 5-star players on this roster starting is just incredible. This is a great coaching job by Curt Signetti. This is an incredible job by Mendoza, who I'm sure there were talks about him maybe being a potential late round prospect, but to go all the way to the number 1 overall pick is what we're thinking. All signs point to Las Vegas. I mean, unless there's some shakeup, it's either going to be him or Dante Moore out of Oregon. And Dante Moore didn't
the quarterback he just beat.
Exactly. He didn't do himself many favors. It wasn't like it was a shootout game, so he didn't do himself any favors. But just incredible. You watch this playoff run, guys. And, I talked about Josh Allen and Mendoza battling who had the better stat line. 8 touchdowns, 5 incompletions in the 2 games combined Mendoza's had in the playoffs. Incredible. And it's really just strong football. It's sound football. It's not flashy. We're not sitting here talking about Fernando Mendoza throwing for 400 passing yards and 6 touchdowns, but they're winning games, and they're winning games very dominantly. Now, we were talking, guys, before the show about Miami and kind of feeling like Miami's a little bit in for a rough spot. But let's be honest. We thought the same thing, most of us here in the Buckeye State, when they went up against Ohio State, that the defense for Ohio State was just going to be stout and not allow Carson Beck and this offense to do anything, much like we're thinking Indiana. And maybe we underestimated as a national audience, not us necessarily on this show or whatever, but maybe nationally we underestimated how strong Miami's defense is. They are the reason that Notre Dame didn't get to play in these playoffs because of that head-to-head win. And they're showing that the committee made the right call putting Miami in. Ruben Bain in this defense for Miami, they have to get takeaways early against Mendoza if they want a chance. He hasn't turned the ball over once this playoffs. If they want to win, they got to turn the ball over early, cause turnovers. But if anybody's ready for that challenge, it's this Miami defense. They've proven that throughout the playoffs.
Well, their secondary was banged up coming in, and then got even worse as the game went on. They had an ejection actually for a targeting penalty with one of their defensive backs, and they still managed to handle Trinidad Chambliss, who is one of the better college quarterbacks in the country. And then, you mentioned Ruben Bain up there. He is a bona fide top 5 pick in the NFL draft. He is a pass rusher that is dominating college football right now. So, it's going to have to be the defense that really Miami leans on, because they do not, and all due respect to Carson Beck, they got a freshman running back out there who is lights out also. All due respect to those guys, they do not have the firepower to hold up in a shootout with Mendoza, with Signetti, with that whole Indiana juggernaut. The one thing I do want to throw in here, too, the one winner in this whole thing, the big winner, is the nation of Cuba. We have Fernando Mendoza, a second-generation Cuban immigrant, and Mario Cristobal, former Miami football player. He was a lineman against Russell Maryland back in those days for the Canes. He is also a second-generation Cuban immigrant. So it's kind of weird. And then you throw in Diego Pavia in that situation, too. The Latin influence that, and then you throw the game in Miami. So this might be the most Cuban national title game we've ever seen in our lives. And for a nationality that doesn't have a whole lot of tradition in college football, it's kind of cool to see.
Yeah, it's going to be a heck of a Monday night. Next weekend. It's going to be crazy. And you just think, too, Miami, first off, that Miami Ole Miss game was phenomenal. Back and forth. Those final minutes, phenomenal. And you get to see what happens in the college football playoff when both teams have equal amount of time to prepare for a game compared to the first round. But the other thing, too, when you really think about the conference dominance, right? This is going to be year 3 in a row that the Big Ten is going to have a representative in a national championship game. And
or they could have a third national champion in a row. So, Michigan and Ohio State won it.
Yeah, if Indiana pulls through, it's 3 in a row. And the SEC doesn't have a representative. And in fact, the one representative they could have had, their head coach left for another program.
For another SEC school.
Exactly. So for all this talk about, conference dominance, the SEC this, SEC that, SEC has struggled a ton during the bowl season. They have struggled when it matters most against other teams in the bowl season. So that's something they have to address. The one thing they have in their back pocket, they're on the mothership. They're on ESPN. So ESPN every single year they're going to gaslight the SEC, saying that they're the next big thing. They're the greatest thing. But the Big Ten is very possible they're going to have 3 national champions, the last 3 in their conference.
Yeah, and they could be in a position, Double A and Rob, the Big Ten that is, where I know Oregon just got smoked.
Another Big Ten team, by the way.
But another Big Ten team, and I do want to still give them their credit. They had a great season. They did have a game. This was a rematch, Oregon-Indiana. It didn't go anywhere like the first game. But, I mean...
By the way, that was Oregon's only loss coming into this game, too.
Exactly. So. And it was a good game, so everybody expected it to be a good game. So I think that's why it's even more shocking that Indiana really put, to take Miami's catchphrase for Indiana, they put belt to ass to Oregon. And, that's just what it... When I look at Indiana, I look at Miami, and I compare these two teams, I just look at just a built program, right? Because I understand with Mario Cristobal, and I'm not knocking the coaching job he's done, Rob, but it just feels like this could just have been, maybe it was the perfect timing. They have the defense. They got Beck, who was coming off an injury. I'm not questioning it, but it feels like we're about to witness, and not to discredit Oregon, like I said, they could be in the conversation later on. Ohio State will be back in the conversation. We'll see what Michigan State. I had to throw Michigan State in there, but we'll see with Indiana.
Still one part of the statement you just made.
We'll see with Indiana, though. I think we're witnessing the next machine, and I know that's scary for Ohio State fans, but I think we're witnessing the start of a run, whether it is multiple national championships or just always being there. I think that's what we're going to see, and I think Miami just took advantage of a moment, and that's why.
Well, you got to remember too, Miami also has the defending Heisman up until Mendoza, the Heisman Trophy winner. They had Cam Ward last year, and their issue, and this has been a slow burn in Miami for about 3 or 4 years, as long as Cristobal's been there. That they are not the Miami team from the mid-aughts and the early teens that were just kind of getting kicked around the ACC anymore. Last year, it was their defense that was kind of their Achilles heel. They've recruited. They've found the transfer portal. They have helped that out big time. And with Carson Beck now as the transfer quarterback from Georgia, that seems to be what Miami likes to do, is find that, that big-time quarterback in the portal. And as long as they do find that quarterback in the portal and he pans out, there's no reason why Miami can't be around, especially in a fairly weak ACC. The only thing they have to do, if we want to get into Miami's body of work, and it almost bit them in the ass this year, bit them in the ass last year. They they look great against Notre Dame. They look great against the A&Ms of the world. They look great against these big time schools, but then they'll shit the bed against Louisville. Then they'll shit the bed against SMU. It's those dumb little, John Cooper, Jim Tressel, losses, to Purdue in the middle of the year.
Urban Meyer
to avoid.
Urban Meyer. Oh, man. We got Michigan on lock, but, man, we can't beat Iowa.
Yeah, I mean, at least, the one thing you should give Ryan Day is, all right, he might have trouble against Michigan or a bowl game once in a while, but he sure as shit going to run through that Big Ten every year, no problem.
Yeah.
But we have a divisional schedule.
That's a whole different show, just the mess that is the scheduling, and you want to get into the ACC, like their conference schedule next year, like half the teams have 8 games, the other half have 9. It's all screwy. It's definitely a shit show, and and maybe when this thing kind of settles down in a couple of weeks, we can kind of examine college football from a wider lens here and see what needs to be fixed.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. Real quick, I have an NFL divisional schedule. It just broke. It is not a completed schedule.
No, it couldn't be.
The reason why is because things will be dependent on the Texans-Steelers result. So Saturday, Buffalo and Denver will face each other. San Francisco at Seattle will face each other. One of those matchups will be at 4:30. The other matchup will be at 8. The NFL has not picked which ones will be where. And there's no network for either one. Sunday, the Rams and Bears, and then Steelers-Texans winner at the New England Patriots.
I heard it might be a triple threat. Potentially Steelers, Texans versus, them all three against each other. Anyways, go ahead.
Game 1 at 3:00. Game 2 at 6:30. Which one? To be determined following Texans Steelers tomorrow night.
Okay, so probably by the time we get on the air, I'll be done watching the Steelers. Hopefully, if they're in the second round of the playoff game. Okay, cool.
Rob, before we get to our next story, just real quick, don't even have to spend too much time on it. Confident level meter. I asked you last week when I was there with you. Confident level heading into tomorrow. 1 to 10, 10 being the highest. Steelers win tomorrow?
Yeah.
5, 4.5, 5, somewhere in there. Again, this is the hurdle for Mike Tomlin. He's got to win a playoff game. Like, we haven't seen this happen in 6 years, folks. Like this has got to go down, and I'm not going to be confident in it until it actually happens.
Right.
But we'll see. I mean, it's is Aaron Rodgers going to be fountain of youth Aaron Rodgers, or is he going to be New York Jets fountain Aaron Rodgers? So we'll figure it out. But yes, we'll continue in college football here. I know we got a lot, we want to take that wide angle lens a little bit later on, but Moon brought this one up here. Speaking of Mississippi, Ole Miss and the college football run they had, their quarterback, Trinidad Chambliss, he has been denied a waiver for a 6th year of eligibility in the NCAA. The story with him is that up until last year, he was a Division II quarterback or a JUCO quarterback, kind of moved his way up in the world, got to Division I this year, had the 1 year, but sadly the other 4, all of his eligibility was used up. He was a senior this year, and he wanted to look for a little bit more college time. And he was arguing that his JUCO time should not count towards against his eligibility, much like Diego Pavia filing for Vanderbilt here. But yeah, I mean, it seems like right now, especially with NIL, there is that carrot at the end of the stick. There is a financial incentive for folks creating, elongating their college careers. In the case of Chambliss, I know he's seen as a lower end pro prospect. He'll definitely make more money in a 6-year at Ole Miss than he would in the NFL, probably the first 2 or 3 years he's in the league. But we're seeing that happen a lot now where guys want to stick around in college. Carson Beck, we just mentioned, was a senior transfer. Because they know that their earning power at 22, 23 is going to be more in college than it ever might be in the pros. So we are dealing with eligibility just kind of being a formality, a guideline instead of an actual rule. How are we with, with 23, 24, 25-year-old, 26-year-old college players in some cases, because that's where they can make their money.
Double A, go ahead.
I think this is this is very interesting. Look, are we surprised that this has come to this? That at some point you're going to want as much money as possible, and if you can sneak in that final year, and I'm looking more into this story, but yeah, no, you can't do a 6-year. I know in some way, shape, or form it could be possible in a way, but college, it's tough because on one hand, my take is going to be that college kids need to treat this like college, but we are far past that. Like, we are beyond past any of this. Like, what you need is I don't know. It's the right call by the NCAA, but what the hell does the NCAA have control of anymore in the sport of football? They really don't.
Yeah, and to add to that, Double A, my thoughts when sharing this story, before we got on the air here, the reason I want to bring it up is because I'm having a hard time with this, because if you watch Trinidad Chambliss and you watch that Ole Miss game against Georgia, where a lot of the national audience got to really see him for the first time, unless you watched college football earlier this year. I've seen moments of, but this was like my first time getting to watch a full game of Trinidad Chambliss. And I was like, man, this guy's cool. Like, he was out there balling against Georgia. And, I looked up, where could he be in the draft? Why haven't I heard about this guy? Like, in terms of like a first, second rounder. So, he's like mid-round draft prospect. Okay. And then I look up, well, can he go back to school? Well, right now he can't come back to school. And he's really trying. Yeah, he sure is trying. But, it makes it tough, Double A and Rob, because I want to root for Trinidad Chambliss. And if Ole Miss was in the national championship, I'd want to root for Ole Miss. But this is now becoming a problem where, one, there's no comeback heartbreak story, because if you lose in your 4th year, you can just go try to fight with the NCAA and try to run it back for a 5th year. And, there's not really that senior who walks off and will have to just go try at the next level or never get to play again. We'll never get to feel those types of moments because guys are just playing for more and more money and more years. And go get your money. I'm all for NIL money, but let's also keep it to what the structure. We got to keep some sort of structure. And that's where I guess the problem is, because Carson Beck, real quick, Double A, the point on Carson Beck is, I can feel for Carson Beck. Him trying to get the extra year of eligibility, him coming back after the UCL injury. They had a great feature on him before the game the other night with the U game, the Miami and the Ole Miss game. ESPN put a great feature out there, just his comeback. And, he's won 2 backup national championships as a backup, but he hasn't won one as a starter. So it's you see that as opposed to Trinidad Chambliss, who won a national championship Division II at Ferris State. And now, he didn't win it yet, but he had a really good run at Ole Miss and made himself more noteworthy. So I'm having a tough time saying who do we allow to get that eligibility to? I mean, injuries seem to make more sense. And then it hurts me because, back to my other point, when Colt McCoy, just to throw some names out there, when Sam Bradford, when some of these guys, Vince Young, Reggie Bush, Tim Tebow, I mean, you can name
Manziel.
Manziel. I'm more so staying for feel good stories, but for the most part, guys that you looked up to, but when they were done, whether they declared for the draft or it was their senior year and they didn't get it done, you felt for them. You knew you were going to miss them. It's these guys, it's kind of like when you have somebody and they're like, hey, okay, thank you so much for looking out for me. I'm going to go, rock out. I'm going to move out of state. And then they don't. They have to just stay there for another 4 weeks and then 5, 6, 7, 8 months. And it just feels like these guys are overstaying their welcome. And that's what is starting to become a problem. Trinidad Chambliss, great run at Ole Miss. Try to do it at the next level.
So I'm sorry, and forgive me for coming off a bit uneducated about the totality of this topic, because I'm trying to look at where things went wrong, and it looks like I'm looking at this. The NCAA had a statement released here. It's a long statement. I would try to put it on here, but we wouldn't get the full thing on here. But it looks like on the base surface, it looks like there was some documentation that was not correct on Ole Miss's side of things. Because the holdup, it looks like, what was it, the 2022-2023 season, he didn't play. And the waiver request was denied, citing that he was pretty much, what Ole Miss wanted to argue was that he was not capable of playing through that injury or illness. That's what the ruling was. I need to look more into that. I'll be completely transparent with this topic. I need to look a little bit more into the fairness of this ruling, because on one hand, if there was not missing paperwork, but incorrect paperwork sending or documentation that was off, maybe you may have something here. So I could see both sides of it. But Eli, to your point about structure in the NCAA, that's the bigger point. What exactly does structure mean in the NIL world?
Well, I think it just I mean, yeah, that's a whole different can of worms, Double A. I just think, I guess, sticking to some sort of the basics that college was founded on, Like my little brother is in college right now. I know he doesn't play any sports, but he's at Ohio State, and he's going to do his 4 year. I mean, he's probably doing more than I don't ask him. He does his thing, and he's going to graduate. And I'm going to be proud. I'm going to be there at Columbus. But basically, he's doing his academic. But he, once he's done and graduates, that's it. That's he has graduated. His eligibility for college is, if I'm understanding correctly, sports is done because he didn't use it while he was in college, but he went to college. So back to these guys, Double A, the athletes, because like I said, my brother's there for academics. When we go back to the athlete side of things,
right,
you should still have to follow the same structure. 4 years at most, unless you redshirt, you have that injury, and you get your 5th year. That's how it's always been. This 6th, 7th, 8th year. I mean, I know it's not getting that far yet, but we already talked about it in college basketball. We just talked about guys coming back from, the G League and playing overseas with James Najee and Baylor. And he didn't have a crazy showing in his debut for Baylor, but it's just we got to get back to some sort of structure. If academically you have to follow it and you got to go do your schooling and all that, and that's your time, then you got to follow it athletically too. There's got to be some sort of structure for the same people that are going to college, whatever they're going for.
I have a solution.
What's that?
I have a solution. So these leagues, like The Rock and others, like they wanted to start competing like spring football professional league. Do a professional league, but only allow 18 to 22-year-olds in your league and pay them. Pay them more than what some of these schools would offer. So you almost pull like in the 80s, the USFL, Bernie Kosar.
Right.
Instead of going straight to the NFL, you play in this league. Well, instead, I'm going to some of these towns and saying, hey, I want the best high school players. You're going to get paid this much up front. You don't have to worry about eligibility, things like that. As long as you're 18 through 22 or 23 years old, we're going to pay you more than what some of these other schools can pay you.
Yeah. I honestly, Double A, I'm not opposed
smart
to that.
business.
I'm not opposed to that. Yeah, I'm not opposed to that. I mean, there's got to be some sort of understanding of where we're at now. And like I said, just to reiterate, I am big on the topic, the discussion, and of NIL money when it comes to that. I'm pro pay the players, pay the athletes. The schools want to be having this type of revenue. The networks want to have this type of revenue without the athletes. You have to pay the guys and girls that get them into this position. But yes, Double A, to your point, if college is now going to be used as I can stay here as long as I want until I figure it out, then for the guys that are the Trevor Lawrences of the world, the guys that just are ready to go, put them in a almost pro-ready league and then get them to the next level.
Rob and Eli, let's pin this. There's more to unpack. Give me a week to do a little studying on this story too, because there's more to unpack here. The NCAA statement was from January 9th, 2 days ago.
Okay.
Yeah, there's more meat to this than what time will allow us to dive into this.
Okay, yeah, we can. Yeah, definitely. Also, too, when the NFL slows down a little bit, I'm sure we'll have plenty more time to dive, get into stuff like that for sure. But yeah, this is the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. I am Rob Rozycki. We have Anthony Alford, Eli Moon. A few more minutes left of the show. Remaining news and notes here, and this is something that maybe a couple of years ago might have been a little higher in the show. We have a 4-time All-Star, 1-time All-NBA player on the move. Trae Young has been traded from the Atlanta Hawks to the Washington Wizards for C.J. McCollum and a couple of other small pieces. And the craziest thing about it was, again, a 4-time All-Star, All-NBA player moved, and no one really cared. Nobody really, and again, we're not talking about maybe a guy like Draymond Green who's 35 years old. We're talking about a dude who's still on the right side of 25 years old. Nobody really cared. Everyone was just like, okay, moving on.
Yeah, I think for Atlanta and Trae Young, I think the word of the week for me has been, when discussing a lot of situations, has been reset or refresh. And that's what it was. Atlanta has been consistently adding young talent. I mean, are they a great team? No, but they are building something, and I think they ultimately decided Trae Young wasn't on that same timeline as the rest of the Atlanta Hawks. They got a lot of young talent, and that's what it really comes down to. Did Trae Young fit into the overall plans going forward? He's also been, more and more scrutinized in Atlanta. Let's remember this guy in the first few years of being in the NBA was in the Eastern Conference Championship against the New York Knicks. The Eastern Conference Final, excuse me. So this is a guy that literally had Atlanta almost back to the finals very, very quickly. And since then, they just kind of been middling. They've never been really worth really considering making that run again. And, so that's been a little discouraging. But let's not forget, when Trae Young came to Atlanta, they loved him. The Migos were calling him Ice Trae, and they were doing their thing. I mean, that's literally where the Ice Trae nickname came from, a Migos song. So, and they're from Atlanta. So Atlanta, the city loved him. And I think this was just a matter of Trae Young realizing, okay, I need to go be the man somewhere else because I'm very quickly being pushed out as the man in Atlanta, and I need to go do it somewhere else. Washington, they've tried making it happen. They drafted Alexander Sarr, the second overall pick, and what I think might be, in my opinion, one of the worst number 1 and number 2 draft picks in NBA history. Zachary Rissiker from Atlanta. That's one of the ones they did miss. I talk about the ones they've nailed. That was a bad one.
Oh, boy. I forgot about that name.
And then
I forgot about that guy.
And then Alexander Sarr, number 2 to Washington. Sarr said he didn't want to go to Atlanta. I believe that was the case. So that's why he went 2. He would rather go to Washington. Again, I am not sure. It's been a minute. Last time I went to Washington, D.C. was my senior year of high school. I graduated from high school. I'm sorry, Rob, for saying the year. 2015. So I graduated from high school in 2015. That's the last time I've been to D.C. I don't know. I love the cherry blossom trees out there. They got a lot of monuments. I'm sure there's some good eats.
I don't know what's in the water anymore under the current administration, but we'll leave that for a different time.
I'm just talking the scenery. But besides,
so am I.
Rob is too.
I don't know what's in the water in Washington, Rob. I don't know.
By the way, Rob, independently of this show, I sent you a tweet I think you'll appreciate off grid of this show.
Can I just get kicked out of the cool kids table? You guys just talking about text groups I'm not in? No. Anyways, there's a lot going on, obviously, with clearly the Wizards, and they think Trae Young's their opportunity. Oh no, Trae Young's their guy to be to lead the franchise, and we'll see what it means. Trae Young could easily just walk this offseason and play really well for Washington and kind of poise himself to go to another team. At the end of the day, we'll see what happens. I think it's really more of a discussion of this, Double A and Rob, as you guys are now on the same page, I guess.
Rob, did you see it?
Yeah, Nikki Glazer looks good.
Quick, Rob.
Go ahead, Eli.
I'll say this too. You guys are okay. I've done a show with you guys for quite a long time. I know how to navigate these waters. So what I will say, though, here's the bigger issue, fellas. The second apron. Rob, like you mentioned, C.J. McCollum and Corey Kispert were the trade to Atlanta for Trae Young. There was no first-round picks. There was no draft capital, no sending, hey, this guy's overseas right now, but, when he comes to America, he's going to be, a Washington Wizard or Atlanta Hawk, whatever. 5-6 years ago, there would have been multiple firsts, or at least multiple seconds.
Remember, there was a conversation the first couple of years of their careers because they were drafted so close together. Who got the better deal, Dallas with Luka or Atlanta with Trae? They were kind of thought about in the same mode for a half a second there.
Yeah.
No, that's right. I think it's clear with Atlanta, somebody with Trae Young's talents, you're not expecting to be in the play-in tournament every single year. The play-in tournament was not designed for the Heat and the Bulls to be in the play-in tournament every single year.
Yeah, but that's what it is.
That's what it is. And the other thing, too, this year in particular, Trae Young, he's only played – I didn't even realize this. He's only played in 10 games this year. He's had significant injury issues. And the Wizards, they're going to probably rest him. They're not going to play him at all probably this year because they want to protect – let me make sure I get this fully correct here. New York Post. One league executive speculated that Washington's going to be uber conservative with Young's rehab to ensure it does not lose its top 8 protected 2026 first-round pick to the Knicks.
All right.
Yeah, it's just a mess, guys. The second apron's a mess. And that's what it is. That's
so
really what
So they're tanking games for a better draft pick. That's okay, but when Terry Rozier tanks games for other reasons, we have problems. Okay. All right, cool. Moving on.
As long as it's within the rules, Rob, okay? The NBA's rules, that is, I guess. I don't know. That's my biggest thing, guys.
Don't worry. They don't know. They don't know either.
That's my biggest point, though, Rob.
That's the bigger problem is that they don't know either. Yeah. And you got teams trying to tinker. Imagine trading for a star player, and then you say, we want to make sure the star player we just traded for doesn't play this year. And we're going to slow down his we're going to really, really take our time with the rehab process so we can lock in a draft pick.
In the words of John Taffer from Bar Rescue, shut it down. That's what they're doing.
And the problem is the Wizards are going to be the Wizards won this trade. If we want that answer, they won the trade because at least the Wizards have a plan. There's no plan here with Atlanta, like nothing.
And I do want to mention this too, guys. I'm looking here on Yahoo Sports with Trae Young. He actually had put out a few days ago, put out a statement on Instagram, and in that statement he mentioned, "I'm walking into this next chapter with my head high and my eyes forward. It's time to see what's possible when the support is real and the vision is clear. We move." So that was his farewell to Atlanta in there.
Okay. When the support is real. Yeah, the team that drafted me top 5 overall and handed me an extension and paid me hundreds of millions of dollars. Well, it's just like Tua, with the asking him about a fresh start in Miami. You go, that'd be dope. Like, you signed a $50 million a year extension last year, and that's all that bought you loyalty for 12 months? That'd be dope. No wonder why the dope got fired down there.
Now, in fairness, McDaniel got fired McDaniel was still there when Tua said that. So we'll see what Tua's statement is now, when they get back out, and ask him again.
Tua better be, he was going to get paid for a couple of years. I know we digress right now, but yeah, Tua, he better look back on his starting time in Miami fondly when he is Justin Herbert's backup in a couple of years, because that's the trajectory he's going right now.
That'd be something, man. That's like,
at least he'll stay in the league.
Yeah.
If he stays, well, and that's if the noodle stays together. We'll see how long the CTE can be warded off. But this is the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. We digress for half a second during news and notes. I am Rob Rozycki, Anthony Alford. To my direct left here, we got Eli Moon on the other bookend of this thing. We got a few more minutes left. We've probably got about 20 minutes left of the show, give or take. We have one more quick story here, and then we'll get into what we've learned. Anthony, he said he needed more time to learn about our previous story. I'm going to need a little bit more time to learn about this one, or at least have Anthony explain it to me like I'm 7. This is NASCAR. This is the National Association of Stock Car Racing, the former Winston Cup. I don't even know what the sponsor is right now, but they are changing their race for the Cup. Their final standings and the way to determine a champion. That seems to be the gist of it. Is that correct, AA?
It is. Fans, please bear with us. Nobody on the show are NASCAR fans, so just bear with us. The banner is correct at the bottom. Boom. Thank you, Eli. So tomorrow is a big day for NASCAR because for the longest time, and all three of us, we're around NASCAR fans, racing fans. For the longest time, the season has been the driver with the most points. They win the Cup at the end of the season. And let's just say over the last 20 years, this whole chase for the insert sponsored Cup, whatever it is,
Sprint, Nextel, whatever it's been, over the last Winston in previous generations,
Let's just say, according to a lot of racing fans, that's been a failure. It's been an abysmal failure. And a lot of it is just because really it's not really illustrating who is necessarily the best drivers, representing their sport that year. I mean, you got guys who won Daytona not qualifying for the chase for the Cup. And it's just not – basically real fans do not like what's been happening with the chase. So tomorrow – it's a big day. They're going to announce a new format, and it doesn't seem like they're going to go all the way back to the old days of points or busts, but it seems like they're going to do as much as they can to kind of steer away from the playoff chase format.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Eli.
I was just trying to process all that, AA, because honestly, I just miss when Jeff Gordon was around, man. That's when I that's when I remember to your point, the peak of NASCAR, at least in my life. Like, I have family and friends that race here in Ohio, at the local, tracks, and have been able to go to some of the bigger tracks. Cool. And when I talk about NASCAR, usually I'm like, man, how's Jeff Gordon doing? And he's been retired for some time. So Jimmy Johnson. I mean, Dale Earnhardt Jr. I mean, and that's probably. I mean, if I can name a few more names, then you got me. But you look at though the heyday, and at least I was able to I didn't even get into discussions with some of my friends. I wouldn't know much about as you guys know, I'm not very car savvy, but I knew Jeff Gordon was really good at racing, and we'd have discussions about who the best racer was, who the best driver was, and I don't ever hear that anymore. In fact, I hear about these other leagues like dirt tracks, which NASCAR does, does have different series and stuff. But I'm saying like just other companies that have come up and
IndyCar.
I was just about to say IndyCar has risen, rose to the top, and they did a documentary on Netflix, really showing the ins and outs. I believe it was Netflix, one of the streaming services. But they've taken advantage of when NASCAR is trying to get cute in a sport that, to be honest, the fans of NASCAR don't want you to get cute. They want to know who's the best racer. Keep it straight to the point with how it's been. IndyCar is well, guess what? We've kept our formula. Come follow this. We have a little bit different looking car, but it's still fast. We still do the turns, and you're gonna enjoy good racing. So that's what I just think they're trying to get too cute. NASCAR is a sport out of all the sports that shouldn't be trying to get cute with its fans.
F1 secured a television deal with Apple because of their Apple TV Plus series. They secured a deal. Listen, the only names every sport. There'll be a show where we talk about UFC. Every sport, you got to have names. Mm-hmm. And other than the names that Eli mentioned, I don't have any additional names I can give you of even, current stars. None of those guys are current stars. So I can't even give you names. I mean, just think that, what was it, 20 years ago, a little over 20 years ago, Talladega Nights.
Yeah.
Great movie. We actually had a marketing project where we had to count all the sponsors listed at Talladega Nights, and that was our way for us to watch the movie. It's a great movie, but
what's the answer, AA? How many sponsors in Talladega Nights?
I want to say 22 or 23. I'm probably way off, but that sounds right.
Okay. But
listen, I just wanted to bring this up because this will probably be the only time this year that we bring up NASCAR in the show.
It's January, so we'll see.
Well, we're going to call it here unless there's a graphically bad something or other happening. But yeah, I think what this is NASCAR. Back in the day, in the era that you're talking about, with the Jeff Gordons, Jimmy Johnsons, Tony Stewart was a name you probably remember, but forgot right there. He was the token bad guy for a generation.
Yeah.
And I go all the way back to dudes like Dale Earnhardt Sr. I remember sitting at the kitchen table, getting the news about the wreck that happened that ended up killing him at the Daytona 500. Going even further back, and it exploded in the 90s and early aughts. It was in a way that the other sports really weren't at the time, even the NFL. When it came down to growth. And I think what NASCAR did was try to tailor it to more of a, massive, just pop culture, more of a casual fan with this race for the Cup, with the way that they were doing everything. And they alienated their old fan base. And it really didn't work with the new fan base. So yeah, they're trying to come back, and they're trying to, correct a few wrongs that they might have committed the last couple of decades in trying, basically doing what baseball's been doing the last couple of years, trying to get a little more fan friendly, get a little bit more of a casual fan interest in there. And where baseball, that's the one thing I'll give Rob Manfred, that worked. The NASCAR stuff hasn't. And yeah, to explain the way that they were coming up with a champion the last few years, especially, I think you needed a computer programming and a calculus degree. No disrespect to our NASCAR brethren, but that fan base isn't exactly known for its reading, writing, and arithmetic. So yeah, let's make things a little bit more simple for the casual fan out there, and even for the fan that remembers what it was back in the day, because that's when it worked. And yeah, and this was a little bit before my time, but yeah, this was a sport that had Bobby Allison and Cale Yarborough beating the shit out of each other in the middle of the infield grass at the Daytona 500. They kind of credit that, I think it was 83 or 84. It was a wide world of sports. The entire Northeast was snowed in that day, turned on the TV, and saw two Southern rednecks just beating the high holy hell out of each other. And that's kind of where the national NASCAR obsession came. And, yeah, I mean, we got to get closer to that right now.
Boogity, boogity, boogity.
All righty. So, okay, yes, we have done our NASCAR quota for the year.
Yes,
we do have a couple minutes left here for what we have learned, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Who wants to take this one first?
Yeah. You got it?
No.
No. You sounded excited. You go first.
I'm actually excited. Actually, I'm sad because I am finally convinced that the NBA needs to shorten their season. You know, we are losing our stars. We are losing guys who have really made people want to watch the NBA. And this past week, the NBA lost one of its biggest stars of the 2025-26 season due to injury. Take a look.
After reviewing the play, the defensive player makes contact to the chest and forearm prior to the movement of the offensive player, resulting in the defensive foul being upheld and the coach's challenges unsuccessful.
Bill Kennedy, he does everything he needs to do to make sure that everybody understands exactly why something was called.
After reviewing the play, the out of bounds that was called correctly due to the fact that there was no illegal contact by the defender, resulting in Philadelphia ball at midcourt. The coach's challenge is unsuccessful.
Can he do audiobooks?
That sounds like a narrator for like a work training video. Like, please place tab A into slot B.
Double A, what happened to our guy?
Video courtesy of NBC. I think he pulled his hamstring, or he suffered a significant leg injury, non-contact.
Oh my goodness!
A few days ago, he is out indefinitely. The hope is that Bill Kennedy can return before the end of the regular season.
If he can't, can they use him as a rules analyst?
I would like to.
I mean, that's what he's auditioning for right there. Let's face it. Like that,
Double
you don't do that unless you want to be in TV in some way, shape, or form.
Double A.
We have deemed your challenge.
Double A. You literally said you were
successful.
You said you were gonna make me sad. I'm crying tears of laughter. That was the best video I've seen. Can I count that as last week? I know we start the week for everybody. Can I still count that as last week? That was the greatest video I think I've seen all week. That was the greatest thing ever.
So to my point, I think now I am willing to listen to fans and players and teams who want to shorten the NBA season because we have lost the great Bill Kennedy to injury, the biggest superstar of the 2026 NBA season, down with an injury. I am now sad.
Oh, yeah, and the three-time MVP hurt his knee is going to be out for 3 weeks.
That too.
Okay.
Rob, do you want to go next? I got to collect myself, dude. That was the
well, I think Double A's frozen up too anyway, so that works out well.
Okay. You go next.
Oh, well, I will. I was hoping to kind of finish the show up with this one because I will say straight out right now that the opinions expressed right now from me do not necessarily echo the opinions of Eli Moon, of Double A Anthony Alford, if he can ever get his ass back on the chat, or the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. This is a kind of a weird one for me because we have done what now a football season's worth of shows, and I think we've done a pretty good job at, being a nice little bubble for everybody and being a nice little refuge from the outside world. Despite the fact of what has been happening throughout the country, throughout the national news cycle and international news cycle. And we have stayed, maybe except a couple of offhanded, witty comments from myself, we have stayed away from politics and national news. We are a sports show first and foremost, and we wanted to stay to that as long as possible. That being said, there's been some things that have been happening this week that I don't think can be ignored. In fact, if we want to take it to sports, it wasn't ignored. The Cavaliers were in action in Minnesota this week, and there was a moment of silence for a shooting victim in New York. In Minneapolis. In Minneapolis, I do apologize. In Minneapolis, Renee Good. She had an interaction with an ICE officer that was caught on video, and the ICE officer shot into her car 3 times, shooting her in the face and killing her. There is video. There's about 13 different angles. But one thing we will do on this show is not show video of people getting shot in the face. I didn't talk to the other guys on that one. That's just a rule I have for myself. And we have seen this now 2 or 3 different angles, left, right, center, everything else. And the ICE agent that was shooting her blatantly shot her for no reason. He might have felt threatened. He might have not liked the way that she was talking to him. But the claim that the administration has, the President Trump and his cronies, is that she is a domestic terrorist and was trying to run over the ICE officer. The video does not back that up. The video in any angle does not back that up. And instead of the administration saying that, hey, this was a senseless tragedy, we need to take a look at our training programs and we need to take an audit at ourselves and figure out how we're doing things, they decided to call her a domestic terrorist. So you have a woman who was described by all of her loved ones as a poet, as a mother of 3, as someone who was not a political protesty person at all. Her Instagram deal had a pride flag up there. That was the extent of her political affiliations. But now we have her and her loved ones trying to figure out what the hell happened. And her mother, her father, her ex-husband, her wife now have to listen to the vice president, the president, the director of Homeland Security, and everybody else in the Trump administration call her a domestic terrorist. The body's not even cold yet, and we were politicizing it. And what that leads me, I guess, to the theme and to the title of this segment that we do, what we've learned. What I've learned is that we're living in a third world country right now. We are living in those countries that we watch on the news, that run things with the military, that run things by force, that run things with oppression and violence as opposed to democracy and debate. And Jesse Ventura, to take it to another sports deal, former professional wrestler, former Navy SEAL and governor of Minnesota, said that exact thing, that we do live in a third world country, where he went over to other parts of the world and the military was handling civilian policing. What does that sound like over here? J.D. Vance has, by the way, informed everybody on Fox. The Vice President of the United States said that ICE will be knocking door to door without a warrant, asking for your papers. I think Anne Frank's up in the attic right now, by the way. That is what third world countries do. Third world countries use the military to manipulate the civilian population. And that's what's happening in Minnesota. That's what's happening on the West Coast, in Seattle, in Chicago. This is not the first time this happened. We've actually had reports today. Today, I was sharing them online, that ICE was on the west side of Cleveland, looking around, seeing what was happening. And that is a third world country. A third world country, the leader gets involved with the media. The leader gets involved with the voice and the message going to the people. Well, we all remember what happened with CBS and Paramount not too long ago. Stephen Colbert loses his job. Not too long after, Larry Ellison and his company latch onto that deal and make a merger. Larry Ellison, a Trump ally. And not for nothing, the merger was contingent on maybe CBS making some changes, and Stephen Colbert being one of them. Bari Weiss, the now new director of CBS News, being the next one. If you want to go inside baseball, the tweet that AA shared with me was a Golden Globes joke. It was Nikki Glazer awarding best editing to CBS News and most editing to CBS News, because it's gone away. It is now what the government wants to tell you, what wants you to know. That is what a third world country does. They suppress the media. They suppress their population. We live in a third world country. Third world countries, the dictators, the leaders, they don't care about laws. Well, Donald Trump is ignoring a court order right now, is ignoring a congressional order right now to release all of the Epstein files. The Epstein files, which he is in several thousand times. For those of you not initiated with that, Jeffrey Epstein ran a pedophile sex trafficking ring, international, and is accused and rumored that his best friend throughout that time was Donald Trump. His name is in these files. Congress told him to release the files. The deadline went and passed, and all he did in the meantime was invade Venezuela and have his ICE agents do what they did in Minnesota. So he is violating that law. He is violating laws that pertain to these ICE agents. He has had court orders ordering these folks to get the hell out. If it is Seattle, if it is Portland, if it's Chicago, if it's Minnesota now, they have been told by a federal court to get the hell out. And he has ignored that. The president who wants to hold everybody to this standard, who wants to look at people and say your documentation isn't right, get out, who wants to prosecute his political enemies for fraud and for all of this stuff, for anything and everything, does not expect to actually be held responsible by the very same laws he is using to put people in prison. That's what it happens in a third world country. And again, really quick, these opinions are not expressed necessarily by AA Anthony Alford, Eli Moon, or anybody on this Inside Edge podcasting network. This is me. If you want to hit me in the comment section, go for it. My Twitter handle is right under there. You want to hit me up on social media? You won't be the first. You certainly won't be the last. I'm not afraid of it. So that being said, what I have learned in the last 7 days is that we live in a third world country.
ICE is one of the worst things to happen in this country, period. And eventually we're going to look back and
ICE, by the way, has a larger budget than the U.S. Marine Corps.
Yeah, and one of these days we're going to look back and it's like, man, you know, Jim Crow, ICE might put that in the same line. But again, that's where you're at. Well said there. Well said.
Yeah. It's dang, Rob. I'm not going to be able to follow that.
That's why I wanted to go last, Buckaroo.
Hold up. Did I miss Eli's?
No, you're going to hear it right now. You're going to hear it right now. I guess, so I had a few different things. But well put, Rozycki. We're in a weird time, and that's how I'll put it. We're in a weird freaking time. I'll bring up a few things. What I've learned this weekend, first off, wow. Collect myself here for a moment. What I've learned this weekend, first off, is that I have a crazy great community. And I think to talk about, just for a moment, to Rob talking about the state of the world, the state of the country, specifically, because it's where we live in the United States of America. And if you're tuning in worldwide, hello. But we live here in the United States.
If you're tuning in Greenland, welcome. You'll be with us soon.
But we live in a world where right now the state of the country is just really, it's messed up. And you guys know me. I've never been one, even 10 years ago, I was never one to talk politics. I think it's important nowadays to be aware of what's going on. What I'm focused on is what I can control. And what I can control is the community that we are building with Lahele, my music collective that I'm a part of. Well, we're building with the Inside Edge podcasting network. And I'm trying to, not even trying, I know that we're pushing this love, unity, this understanding, because that's all I've really wanted in my whole adult life, is just people to come around and to meet other people. Double A's been to, many of my shows. I shouldn't just say a few. He's been to many of my shows, and Double A is now on a first name basis with every single member dang near of Lahele. And, I want that. I want my Lahele bros and my Inside Edge Network bros and we got the gals as well. But I want everybody to come together. And that's what I'm focused on. What I learned this weekend is that it really does take a village, whatever you're trying to do, whether it's gain understanding, build towards something greater. And in the case of what we're building, build something positive that is going to last and be talked about generations. And when we're talking about history, I hope we have some, and I know we'll have some good moments. And that's what I'm focused on, is changing the narrative. Am I the president of the United States? Clearly not. Am I in the administration? Clearly not. But I do understand that my voice holds power, not only in this city, but also around the United States of America. And I'm going to continue to build community. I'm going to continue to build growth. I'm going to continue to build this positive and this love, this outlet that isn't around in a lot of areas. Because I'm going to be honest, the world's hurting me right now. The world is hurting me. And it's for me, who is so politically not, I don't do politics. I don't. And I know people will be like, well, you shouldn't, you should be more involved, whatever. The fact that it's bothering me to the point where I'm visibly shaken up with everything going on, it just tells me I got to continue to push on with what I'm doing, build this mission of love and unity, and that's where I'm at. I will say, with that being said, I have my first guest, my big bro narrator on Conversations with Eli Moon. Rob, we're going to go away for a moment. Oh, hold on. Maybe not.
No, he's still there.
All right, he's there. No, he's gone.
Oh, there we go.
All right, Conversation with Eli Moon on the Inside Edge Network. Narrator, my first guest. We're going to talk a lot about great things. And narrator, I'm blessed to have him. I talk about all the bros, AA, Rob, all you guys. I'm blessed to have narrator, because when you want to talk about breathing positivity and life, when it seems bleak, that man is the truth. And I'm super excited to talk to him Tuesday, 7:00 p.m. Inside Edge Network. Look, we can't necessarily make all the positive impacts right like that. But step by step, we are the people. We the people. We got to start taking initiative to shaping this world to how we want it. And I know it's tough, but I'm going to focus on what I can control, which is building that positive outlet for everybody. Music, sports, entertainment. You want to just go talk about how I just lost a bet with 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter of the Chargers-Patriots game. We'll talk about that. I owe AA gas money. I was going to give it to him anyways, probably, but that's where I'm at. Very rambled. I was very unprepared.
No double cheeseburgers for you.
That's just straight from the chest. That's from me.
You quoted Zeb Coulter in that. I don't know if you're going to pull back that reference here with the All-American Jack Swaggart there.
Yeah.
We the people on that stuff.
Yeah. It's just crazy. I mean, like I said, for me to, and I'll leave it at that. Just for me to be feeling this. And I try to just stay locked in with what I'm doing. For me to be feeling just the climate of the world, feels like it's been going on forever. I'm just focused on shaping something to be positive, to be an outlet that you can go into and forget about your problems for at least 3 to 4 hours, and then understand that the movement we're pushing is going to be globally. And that's what I will say on this podcast. I know we talk a lot about, obviously what we were building, and I'm proud of what we're building, because I truly think with what we're building here with the network is an outlet for people, Rob, in AA, to be able to, we have people still turning in 3.5 hours in AA. I know we are well past all of our bedtimes, but it's a blessing that we are able to create this outlet for everybody tuning in, still watching right now. It is a blessing that Lahele, the collective, we are able to create that outlet. And that's what I got. I keep talking for another hour, but I'm just blessed for community. So thank you. I have a show February 27th, my album release show at Brothers Lounge. If you would like to come meet me in person, come be a part of the community. So thank you. That's what I learned this weekend.
Well, we'll end on something positive here. Eli, your thoughts on Drew McIntyre winning the title?
Dude, it was so awesome, man. It was like the best thing ever. I mean, and respect to Cody Rhodes. But now we want to talk about refreshes. That's the word of the day, word of the show, refresh, reset. The WWE title picture finally has a reset, and I feel good about it.
All right, I'm going to double down on positivity. Rob, your thoughts on AEW? Go.
Okay.
All right, get us out of here, Rob. This is going to get bad.
Well, what I will say is that the Khan family better be happy that the Jaguars are playing better now. That's all I'll have to say about that one. If you want, you can actually check some of my appearances on the Side Hustle podcast and get my full thoughts on all Elite Wrestling. and Jazz Hands Omega and the little Young Bucks who are now aren't the Young Bucks like older than me, by the way? I think the Young Bucks are like in their like late 40s. So
yeah, they're the not as Young Bucks now.
yeah, it might be like little Bow Wow, but turning just into Bow Wow. They just might have to be the Bucks. I don't know. Maybe who knows?
They're baby faces now.
Okay, we'll go with that. Yeah, do you really have heels and baby faces in witness protection? That would be the only thing I'd have to ask. But
Yeah,
well, stay tuned, Rob. Sorry, Double A, not to steal your shine here, but just remember, Mercedes Moné, she's not just coming back for championships; she's coming back for more. Rob, take us away.
Okay, yes, because I remember when Jerome Bettis said in a Steelers uniform, "I'm not coming back for a Super Bowl. I'm coming back for more," because that makes sense. All right. Double A is having some sort of stroke or medical emergency. Eli, he's probably got to go to bed soon. We're all tired as shit. We've been on the air for 3.5 hours. My girlfriend is a little pissed off because I thought we were getting done a little bit earlier than 10 after 12, but it is what it is. I'm glad to spend time with Double A and Anthony Alford. I'm also glad to spend time with you guys too. We would not be anything if it wasn't for the 100 plus listeners we've been having the entire run. So that might be a record for us. So yeah, keep growing. For Double A Anthony Alford, for Eli Moon, I am Rob Rozycki. This is the Main Event on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. And we'll see you next week for the second round of the playoffs and whatever stupid stuff happens between now and then. I'm sure there'll be something. We'll see you soon.
Get well soon, Bill Kennedy. Get well.